the monthly council meeting on Tuesday, the 4th of June in the Grange in Omagh. I'm going to go first of all for apologies, and for those that aren't aware, Councillor John Feely has stepped aside, and I'm going to go to Debbie Coyle, who is now leader of the Sinn Féin grouping.
Thanks, Chair. Councillor Kelly, Councillor Campbell, Councillor McCann, Councillor Brown, and I think there's one more, and Divine Gallagher as well. Councillor Divine Gallagher, thank you.
Right. Sorry, Debbie, you couldn't identify which Councillor Kelly?
Catherine.
Okay, thank you. Next, we go to Councillor Warrington.
Councillor Robert Irvine.
Thank you, Victor. And then we go to Councillor Paul Robinson.
Apologies, Chair.
Thank you, Paul. Councillor Adam Gannon.
Apologies for Councillor McPhillips.
Thank you. And we have nobody currently in the chamber from the Alliance Party, and Councillor Deacon's here, so that's the apologies completed. Next, we're going to confirm the meetings of the special council meeting held on the 25th of April 2024. We'll go through it for accuracy first. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6. So, Councillor Thompson, are you proposing? Thank you. And Councillor Armstrong seconding. Next, we go to confirm the minutes of the council meeting held on the 7th of May, paper B. And again, go through that for accuracy. Page 1, page 2, Councillor Ovens.
Thank you, Chair. And just a minor one, it's under my declaration of interest. It says CP, it should be GP.
Okay, thank you. That's noted. Page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13, page 14, page 15, page 16, page 17, page 18. Okay. And again, proposal, Councillor Robinson. And for a seconder, Councillor Deacon. Okay, now go to item 4, declarations of interest. Councillor Ovens.
Couple of letters, Chair. I think it's 16.5 regarding an RQIA review that's going on at the moment. 16.7, a letter from the SPPG. And then I suppose, I'm not sure if I do need to declare, but if so, just there's a relation or there's a motion in relation to health stuff this evening as well. So.
Thank you. And next we go to Councillor Podrigan Kelly.
Chair, thanks, Chair. It's item 6.2, D. McGurk College as an employee.
Thank you. Not seen anybody else. Oh, Councillor Fitzgerald.
Item 6.2, I'm the Chair of the Board of Governors in D. McGurk College. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And there's I'm going to let you know that I have an outside interest. There's a letter from DFI regarding and Unite Union, from Unite Union and GMB, and my son-in-law and my nephew are both carrying out work for DFI, and they're not directly employed by DFI. So I will continue as chair, but I will not pass any comment on that particular letter Okay, thank you. Right. So now we're back to item 5, which is matters arising out of the special council meeting on the 25th of April. And page 1, page 2. So bringing in Alison at page 2.
Chair, thank you. Just to draw members' attention, we did receive a written response from NI Water to the various queries that were raised by members on the evening. So just really for members' noting and information.
Okay. I'm looking at a proposal to note Councillor Robinson and Councillor Podrick Kelly. Page 3, page 4, page 5. Councillor Hayes.
Thank you, Chair. It's just on page 4, 4.2, just in reference to the funding cuts to GP elective services. I'd just like
Sorry,
to say,
that's the next set of minutes.
are we?
We're still in the
My
special
apologies,
council.
sorry.
Okay, we'll get you back again. Okay, and there's nobody else then indicating. So page 4, page 5, page 6. Okay. Okay, so item 6 now is matters arising out of the council meeting on the 7th of May. So page 1, page 2, page 3, page 3. Chief Executive Alison's going to come in there.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, just a few items of correspondence and updates in relation to page 3. So firstly, to draw members' attention to the letter received from DFI. This is in relation both to Woodbrook Village and the concerns about the developer contribution and the lack of adoption of the estate, and also concerns regarding the cobbles and associated areas within Omagh Town Centre. We also have correspondence from Northern Ireland Water in terms of Lough Macrory wastewater treatment works and the proposed investment. And finally, Chair, it's just an update in terms of the proposed clinics with DFI officials, and invitations have issued. Those are on Monday the 10th of June in person in the Town Hall in Enniskillen. So really the Omagh side of the district in the morning and the Enniskillen Fermanagh side of the district in the afternoon. So those are the updates on page 3.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to bring in Councillor McElduff.
Thank you, Chair. Wish you well in the year ahead, of course, John, and Elaine as well. This Woodbrook Village correspondence from DFA, couple of very important paragraphs there. One of them says that Companies House has confirmed that the developer ceased trading in late August 2023, that DFA have contacted the developer, and the developer has confirmed in Woodbrook Village that he is not in a position to complete the site. So the site's in a terrible condition. The surfacing, footpaths, the thoroughfare through it is in really poor condition, and there's a legislative basis for what we're doing here. So it says further that the DFA staff visited the site and they're currently estimating the cost of the works necessary to complete the development and to bring it to an adoptable standard. That's hugely important for the residents of Woodbrook Village. And remember, this development was sold to people as being an older people's development. And then we further learn that NI Water have 4 bonded agreements in place. I think DFA Roads there have 4 bonded agreements in place, and they're looking now at enforcement. So I hope sincerely that we can move towards a solution here sooner rather than later, and that the bond lodged will be sufficient and will be used to complete Woodbrook Village to the standard required. Tomorrow I meet with the Divisional Roads Manager regarding Woodbrook Village, Retreat Manor, and I'm also going to raise Shergram. Mid-Tyrone councillors have been speaking to me about Shergram as well. So I'll keep the council updated on my efforts similarly. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Are you happy to propose the noting? Thank you. And next I'm going to Councillor Josephine Deegan.
Thank you, Chair. And also, I also want to wish you every good wish for the upcoming year as Chair. I will second the noting of this correspondence from Daniel Healy. the Divisional Roads Manager, the Western Division, and certainly I think the tone of this letter is quite positive. It is disappointing, of course, that the initial developer of Woodbrook Village is not in a position to complete the estate, and that has caused considerable distress to the residents and also puts many of the residents in danger owing to the poor condition of the roads and the walkways. So I really look forward to further developments in this area, and I echo Councillor McElduff's hope that the value of the various bonds will be sufficient to complete the site. I want to make a comment regarding the condition of Omagh High Street, and I want to thank the staff of Fermanagh and Omagh Council for liaising with DFI Roads regarding the condition of the footways at Omagh High Street. This has long been a bone of contention, and the surfaces on Omagh High Street have provided quite a considerable challenge to road users, particularly in winter months when the footway is slippery. I note that Mr. Healy does say that some issues have been identified regarding the design and construction of the initial public realm scheme, and I do hope that those issues can be remediated as a matter of priority, and particularly before the winter comes in. I note that Mr. Healy anticipates a further meeting on site to discuss proposals. And Chair, if it is possible at all, I would like myself and other interested councillors to be able to attend that site meeting, because it is a matter that has given rise to a lot of public concern and it needs to be addressed before someone has a very, very serious injury. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Josephine. And next we bring in Councillor Stephen Donnelly.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, likewise, I've been contacted about this issue, and I do hope that the bonded agreements that are in place are sufficient to be able to deal with the challenges that have arisen as a result of the developer essentially no longer being in practice. And I do want to echo what has been said in terms of the fact that this was, of course, envisaged as a retirement community of sorts. And so there are people there of that particular demographic who are vulnerable in the context of these problems persisting. But I think that there is even a wider issue in the sense that if you talk to a number of the residents within Woodbrook Village, a considerable number of them actually are people who have moved into Omagh coming over from England and Scotland. So many of them have actually went for a considerable amount of work and kind of upset to move into Omagh, to either move closer to family or indeed to do so for work purposes. So the fact that they have gone through that and they are in this significant amount of difficulty, which is not the first time that this has happened, is something that's deeply regrettable. So I hope that there will be further work done to hopefully try and remediate this situation.
Thank you, Stephen. Next, Councillor Earl Thompson.
Thank you very much, Chair. And first of all, can I just take this opportunity to congratulate yourself in attaining the chair for the year ahead, and also to Councillor Elaine Brough as the Vice Chair. Wish you both well for the year ahead. Just with regard to the comments of my fellow Omagh councillors, I certainly support the issue with regard to Woodbrook Village. It was started as, from my memory, it was an over 55s village, and then they brought it back down to actually over 45. I think they were offering houses, people of that age group. So it's very worrying that it's been left in that state. So I'll support any efforts that we can do to remedy that situation. With regard to Omagh streets, Omagh High Street in particular, I had representation no later than actually Monday, yesterday, with regard to Omagh High Street and the state of sun, and also the footpaths there as well, particularly around the top, the junction with John Street and High Street. It's particularly bad, particularly slippy. There's a glare, where people would describe it locally as a glare on the footpaths there, and also the cobbled area doesn't really lend itself anymore to our town either. So I want to support the comments there as well, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Earl. Thank you. And next we go to Councillor Anne-Marie Fitzgerald.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and also want to wish you well, and Elaine, on your coming year. Just on Woodbrook Village, whenever I was town councillor, it's sad to see that people have, I can't recall the old saying, but it's just when they bought a pup, they were actually sold a dog or whatever. Just and I think it's very sad to see what has actually happened, and it's sad to see yet another public housing estate establishment in the area that has been left to this, and the residents are the ones who have to sort of just try and go along and not damage their vehicles, whatever. And also kind of like to thank Councillor Michael Duff for raising Shergrim Gray. We did meet NI Water, I think it's about 15 months ago, and we had quite an in-depth meeting with myself and MLA Michael Ear. And it is a huge problem out there, and I know Councillor Michael Duff's going to raise maybe in term measures you did discuss with me later on if the residents, they were trying to maybe if they kept the rates and sort of saved them for so many years, that would cover the work along with the bond. So something along them issues as well. And it's just to do with Oma High Street. Whenever Daniel Healy did come here, it was one of the first meetings that he had met with myself and Councillor Michael Duff. It was Oma High Street to do with the slippery pavements, and that's about 2-3 years ago now. So that was actually one of the first ones, and he did say it would take quite a few years. So I'm glad that it's still on, and I'll be interested myself just to hear what remedial works that he has said that he would do from that meeting. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Anne-Marie. Next we go to Councillor Marty McColgan.
Thank you, Chair, and again, best wishes to yourself and Elaine for the year ahead. Everything's been more or less said now that I was coming on. I agree with everything about Woodbrook Village, but as I say, it's been said. And the other concern was in around Oma High Street, especially up around the courthouse with slippery footpaths and the cobbles, as Councillor Thompson had said as well. So just adding my voice to those concerns.
Okay. Thank you, Marty. No other speakers. So could I have a proposer and a seconder for the NI Water correspondence along with that? Councillor Deacon and Councillor Thompson. All agree to that? Yeah. Okay, next we go on. Was it page 3? Oh, sorry. Councillor Podrigan.
Thanks, John. No, I was just coming in at the bottom of page 3 about the letter that was sent back. I suppose it's disappointing that it's an interim solution. NI Water have basically tried to go round a roundabout way to tell us that they're not doing what they had planned to do, which is disappointing from our end in Knockmacrory. I would just like us to go back to them and state that and ask them, you know, how much money are they putting into this interim and what is the deficit that they had planned to put in. I know it's at appraisal stage, and I know any solution is obviously welcome, but at the end of the day, they had put this money aside and they're not putting it into it, which is very disappointing.
Thank you, Podrigan. I need a seconder for Podrigan's proposal there. Councillor Debbie Coyle. Okay, so page 3, page 4. Councillor Nolene Hayes.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'd also like to express my best wishes to yourself and Vice Chair Councillor Elaine Brough in your coming year. I just want to bring up, take the opportunity on this 4.2 funding cuts to GP elective services. We have a new Health Minister now, Mike Nesbitt. I would like to propose to write to him to encourage him to consider in his decisions ahead to reinstate the GP elective services funding cut 50%, especially the listener scheme women's health services, which has been devastating for women's health and also to the waiting lists. And also any cuts that, you know, hopefully not, but any cuts that are coming are subject to a rural impact assessment. As again, I'm reiterating, I do believe that the cuts in this rural area have a much more devastating effect than it would in other highly populated areas. So I'd just like to take the opportunity to write to the new Minister, Minister Nesbitt, just to reinforce and ask him to please look again at reinstating these services. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Nolene. And next we go back to Councillor Josephine Deacon.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I would like to wish Councillor Elaine Brough all the best in her role as Vice Chair. I had omitted to do that earlier. Apologies, Elaine. Chair, I would like to second Councillor Hayes' proposal that we would correspond with Minister Nesbitt. Chair, I'm acutely aware of the budgetary constraints as applied to, well, just the decisions that the executive have to face. But I think that Councillor Nesbitt has made it clear that he will do everything within his power, and hopefully with the cooperation of his executive colleagues, to try and rectify the dire situation that we find ourselves in terms of health provision. Councillor Hayes is quite correct in what she says in terms of women's services in our district council area. The waiting lists for gynecological assessments really are such that there's almost no service at present, and that is no disrespect to our consultant gynecologists and nurse specialists who work so hard. But the fact that we did have GP elective services to prop up women's health and that it was subject to a 50% funding reduction is totally unacceptable. And certainly I would call for the reinstatement of that service to its full capacity. We have GPs who are expert in this area, who are willing and able to provide the service to take the pressure off gynecological services in our hospitals. And I think it's right and proper that we should ask for that. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Josephine. Next we go to Councillor Victor Warrington.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I think it's fair to say we're not living in an ideal world, and we would all love to see these services reintroduced. But the bottom line is the Department of Health is working on 184 million less pounds this year than they were previously, and we can't make mountains out of molehills. But the bottom line is that the Department of Health is on record in saying that if the funding comes available again, that these services will be reintroduced into the system. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. Next, Councillor Thomas O'Reilly.
Chair, just to that you are fittingly chained up tonight, both you and Elaine, to wish you the very best for your year ahead. Can I just say a few words in support of Nolene and her continuous efforts to raise this issue and to look for services in rural areas, and notwithstanding Victor's comments that we're all very aware that the department is in a funding crisis like a lot of other departments. But at the end of the day, our job is to fight and argue and lobby for services for our citizens and our population in this council area. And certainly the Erne East area that was promised a new health centre some years ago, and we don't seem to have any sight or word about the commencement date of that. So, Chair, in that light, I'm proposing that we do two things, if I can get it out. One is that we would invite the minister down. We have a new minister now, so this would be our first opportunity to actually extend an invitation and to get Mike Nesbitt down here so that he is very au fait with what our needs and wishes are. Might be able to deliver them all, but at least he should be made aware of them. And the second is that we would ask in that same letter for a commencement date or at least an update on the new health centre in Lisnaskea. All of these services would be greatly enhanced if we could get them in the Erne East area, certainly if the new health service or the new health centre was at least in the pipeline or being scheduled for a build. So we were promised that it would start early this year, and we're now in June. So I think it's but fair to ask, where is it?
Okay. Thank you, Thomas. Next we go to Councillor Adam Gannon.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, just to say now that you are in both of you are in post and at the top table there. Good luck to the year ahead for yourself and Councillor Brough as well. Supportive of the comments made by previous councillors and was coming in actually in a not too dissimilar vein to Councillor O'Reilly there. I do note in the minutes that we as a council expressed our disappointment at Robin Swan for not even acknowledging us that he received our letter and would eventually get back to it for an invitation of meeting, which is quite disrespectful towards this council on his part. And I'm happy to second the proposal that we invite the new minister, Mike Nesbitt, down to us, and just to, if possible in the reference, make note, if possible in the letter, sorry, to make reference to the fact that we've invited Minister Swan down to talk about emergency general surgery, and of course we discuss it along with other issues as Tom has lined out there. State how many times we wrote to the minister, to Minister Swan, and let's hope he doesn't share the ignorance of his party colleague on this, because it's terrible that the previous minister didn't even respond to us on this. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Unless you're happy enough to go with those slight amendments. Thank you. So the first proposal you have is from, oh, sorry, it's Councillor Green.
Thanks, Chair, and wishing you and Elaine a good year ahead, hopefully. And as long as you let me in regular and don't cut me off, there'll be no bother at all. But just on the health cuts, we know where the problem lies on that. It's with the Tory government in England. There's an election, maybe they'll be turfed out. I'm not so sure whether there'll be anything extra coming across or not. Nobody has ever said where we cut to make up the deficit in health. I suppose I was doing some stats today on what the health minister actually gets, and per year I worked it out, and maybe somebody that's good at maths, there's teachers in the room here and all, maybe be able to help me out, but I reckon that for every man, woman and child in the north, there's £5,000 allocated per year to cover their health. Now, obviously the vast majority of them doesn't need that 5,000, but that's an average. It takes a huge amount of money, and you would think that if the health service was being run properly, we would actually have surgeons in Enniskillen. We would have a health centre built in Lisnaskea. We wouldn't be sitting twiddling our thumbs, begging, pleading for a minister to come down to see us, even pleading that they'll even acknowledge us. And I would suggest that maybe the best way would be to do it. I don't know whether he's still the spad of the minister, but maybe just give the letter to the special advisor and let him hand it to them in the morning. I would suggest maybe would be a quicker route, and then we could ask him at the next meeting what the minister said rather than wondering what he said. So that's just my thinking on it. But I agree with everything everyone else said, but I just wanted to throw that out there. £5,000 per man, woman and child in the north is allocated every year. Huge amount of money. You know, you'd wonder how it doesn't cover the cost of healthcare in the north.
Thank you, Seamus. And Victor, you've already been in on this. Probably going to set a precedent here, Victor. I don't think there's anything further to add to this. I'll not let you in. Councillor Ovens.
Thanks, Chair. It's just to declare an interest in that previous discussion and any papers or letters that may follow on.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Ovens. So we have two proposals. The first proposal is proposed by Councillor Hayes and seconded by Councillor Deehan, and it is Chief Executive's going to read this out.
Sorry, Chair, that was just that we would encourage the new health minister to reinstate funding for elective GP services and undertake, in the event of any further financial decisions, full rural impact assessments. And then the second proposal by Councillor O'Reilly, seconded by Councillor Gannon is that we would invite the new Health Minister down to engage with the Council on a range of health-related matters, including the commencement date of Lisnaskea Health Centre, but also refer to the previous letters, invitations to Minister Swan that issued and were not acknowledged.
Okay. So you've all heard the proposal. All in agreement? Okay. And the second proposal was proposed by Councillor Thomas O'Reilly and seconded by Councillor Adam Gannon. And again, I'm going to let the Chief Executive.
That's it summarised here.
Oh, so that's all summarised. Okay. And we all agreed with that one? Okay, thank you.
And Chair, maybe if I could just highlight a letter then in the other correspondence folder from the SPPG. And this was in relation to concerns expressed by the Council specifically regarding the lack of resilience on the out-of-hours GP rota, but particularly for Trillock, Dromore and Fintna. So we have received a response from the Deputy Secretary, who really is just referencing the wider pressures on primary care. It was also requested that we include the matter on the most recent meeting of the Health and Social Care Services Subcommittee in May. We did that, but the Trust representatives weren't in a position to respond on those matters. So it would be appropriate, I think, Chair, maybe for the Council to seek either a special meeting of the Health Subcommittee, specifically with SPPG, to discuss those primary care related matters.
Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you, and thank you to the Chief Executive for that proposal. I would support that. That we do meet, the subcommittee does meet the SPPG. It was something that I had raised on behalf of Irvinstown GP services. So it's better that we have an understanding of what stresses are facing the GP services locally, and working to prevent that, in advance. Thank you. That's my proposal.
Okay. And you note in the correspondence as well, Diana? Thank you. And I was seconder, Councillor John Feely, seconding that. Yeah. You've heard Councillor Armstrong's proposal that we go back and seek a further meeting with the SPPG on the GP services. Is everybody in agreement? Okay, thank you. So page 5.
We've two items of correspondence, one from the CCMS and the other from the Minister of Education, and this is in relation to Dean McGurk and the Council's concerns in relation to the cap that had been placed on the numbers, and specifically whether a rural impact assessment had been undertaken. So the letter from the CCMS advises that it's solely a matter for the department, and therefore they're not engaging further on the subject. And the Minister's letter advises that while there was a rural impact assessment on the programme generally, it was not undertaken for Dean McGurk specifically, but that a development proposal is now forthcoming, and reference is also made to other political engagement that's undertaken on behalf of the school.
Okay, going to bring in Councillor Anne-Marie Fitzgerald.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I think the well-kept secret has been outed. Myself and MP Orla Begley and MLA Declan McAleer did meet with the Minister, and we met with CCMS and the Department of Education on the same day, and it was suggested to us that indeed there is behind scenes going on of getting a development proposal ready, and that development proposal would be launched in September, and it will be launched by themselves and by Mr. Warnock, the Chair of the Dean, and by nobody else. So there is a lot of work to continue to be done in that. So whilst it's ongoing, we just hope that it does come into fruition in September. So thank you.
Can I have a proposer and a seconder to note the correspondence? So no, you can't do it. Councillor McElduff and Councillor Withers. Page 6. Page 7.
So, Chair, just on page 7, we have a number of letters. This related primarily to the various letters that had issued in relation to insurance matters, including insurance premium tax, and then also to the Economy Committee within Stormont. So we have received correspondence back, firstly from the Financial Conduct Authority, which is really setting out their general arrangements and their operational procedures. We have also received from the CMA, or Competitions Market Authority, to say that they will be responding to us substantively. HM Treasury have responded, really just noting how insurance premium tax is applied, the minor flexibilities, and noting that it's part of the wider contribution to public services. And then lastly, which is your other correspondence, item 3, Chair, it's a letter from the Clerk of the Economy Committee advising that while this is a reserved matter, the committee did actually take in some representatives from the insurance industry, and they're just making reference to the evidence provided, and I think that's also available in terms of Hansard on the website.
Thank you. And Councillor McElduff?
Yeah, Chair, my comments were in relation to page 5 and 6, but do you want me to wait?
Yeah, if you just wait till we finish this one, I'll go back to that.
Thank you.
So I'm looking at proposal to note, Councillor Anthony Feely.
Yeah, thanks, Chair, and best of luck, John, in the year ahead, and to yourself, Elaine, as well. No, I just said, well, I proposed to know, but still, it's kind of disappointing that the CMA didn't get back to us. Like, it's still a big issue out there. The insurance prices are still rising. There's still a lot of people on me, so it's just disappointing, but proposed to note.
Okay. Just looking a second, Councillor Bernard McGrath. And Councillor McElduff, I'm going to bring you back in again there.
Okay, I'll be brief. Page 5 makes reference to the proposal to engage with the EA in the future. You know, hopefully that's sooner rather than later. We have a full agenda there. But in a similar spirit, we should revive, I believe, as a council, our engagement with the Southwest College. It's something that we had instituted, you know, that it was happening on a regular basis. It's directly relevant to inward investment and economic development and young people. It's hugely important for us as a council area to have that knowledge of what the college is doing. And just to propose that we have that type of engagement reignited as well as the EA one. There too that had fallen off. And there was strong understandings with both that we would maintain such relationships. And then secondly, in relation to page 6, when you refer to various health matters, because it's of such import, can you please specify in the letter that we want to talk to the new Minister, Mike Nesbitt, regarding progression of the proposed mental health unit at the site of the Omagh Hospital and Primary Care Complex? We did get an answer, but we want to engage the Minister whenever we get a chance on that as well. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, you want to?
Certainly, Chair. It's just, I suppose, to clarify, my understanding is we were going to list all of those matters, and we also haven't received a response from the Minister on the Omagh situation either. So that would certainly be specified within the full schedule of items.
Thank you. Next, we bring in Councillor Thomas O'Reilly.
Chair, I'm quite happy to second Barry's proposal there, and I would ask that maybe he would agree to include the Equine Centre there as another formidable institution that we have within our council area that has great potential to not alone educate our local people here in the equine industry, but give them great opportunities to wonderful jobs right across the world. So we have people traveling from all over the world to avail of those services, and I think that we need to have, as Barry says, a more structured and formalized relationship with them to be able to garner the full potential of what they offer.
Okay, thank you, Thomas. And Barry is indicating that he's happy to go with that. Next, we go to Councillor Earl Thompson.
Again, Chair, and happy to support Councillor McAduff and Councillor O'Reilly's comments. Councillor McAduff, particularly with regard to Southwest College and EA. I can remember a time when there was good engagement with the both. So I'm happy to support those comments and with the added proposal from Councillor O'Reilly as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Earl. So I need to. Are we all agreed with the proposal by Councillor McElduff and seconded by? Agreed. Thank you. So we're page 7. Bringing the Chief Executive in again.
Yeah, well, Chair, it's just really between the bottom page 7, page 8, just to draw members' attention to the response received from the Minister for the Economy. And this is in, I suppose, just to note, Chair, that this letter issued prior to the announcement, obviously, of the BT decision, and that is also referenced in our correspondence. But the council had requested that in the event of an adverse decision, that there would be clarity provided on an incentive package, but also something of a comparable scale to that which had previously been offered, for example, in Ballymena.
Okay. Anybody? Councillor Ellie Roof.
Thanks, Chair, and good luck for you and the Vice Chair for this year. I just want to note the letter and thank the Minister for his involvement and InvestNI's involvement through the challenge to try and keep those jobs at BT. I would note, though, on the letter detailing that they're going to be publishing an action plan in September that is currently being co-designed with interventions with council and local partners. And we had a meeting with InvestNI quite recently, and I don't really know how involved we are in those discussions as such. So I would like to get some clarity from InvestNI, if possible, at what point we're going to get involved in those discussions.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go back to the Chief Executive here.
Chair, I think it's important probably for members to note that the sub-regional economic plans are for all 11 councils. It's not a bespoke suggestion for Fermanagh and Omagh, and indeed it's something that will, so we have had engagement at an officer level. We've also had engagement through Economic Development and Inward Investment Working Group, and essentially it's a district-wide plan to identify key themes and areas. What we have been advised is that there is no funding attached to them. There's no resources. And if there is, it will be in at least 12 to 18 months. So I note from the correspondence, but all 11 councils will be doing exactly this. And I don't, while we as a council may choose to include a bespoke element that relates to the situation because of the loss of jobs in BT, we will be doing the sub-regional economic plan regardless of that announcement. And we will be bringing, a report. It will probably be coming to if we'll have an update maybe to June, but we're awaiting some further clarity from Invest just on the timescale and the overall production requirements.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Alan Gallant.
Thank you, Chair. I'll second the noting of the letter regarding the sub-regional economic action plan. We'll wait to see what happens there. I don't think anyone in this chamber would have particular confidence in InvestNI to deliver regional balance and to deliver for this district. I will note, obviously, we had asked for clarity on the incentive package. We'd asked, hopefully, for precise amounts. I don't think we're going to get it. I think that even if we FOI it's not gonna happen. But I do note, and I think Chief Executive mentioned it there at the start, regarding we had more correspondence regarding if there had been a negative outcome to the BTEE Centre. And I think that was actually, there was a Councillor Green made an excellent proposal, I believe it was last month, regarding this, regarding a bespoke package to the equivalent value of whatever was on the table. I think he made reference to Rightbus at the time. Would it be worthwhile, and I'm happy to propose it, Chair, to propose just that we write back to remind them of that correspondence, because I'm pretty sure Councillor Green proposed sending it off at the time, and I wouldn't want that to not get a response.
Sorry, Chair, just to clarify, so we did send that letter. That is the letter that the Minister has responded to. So it issued from us on the 16th of May and it made specific reference to the Rightbus proposal, but none of that is referenced in the response.
Okay. Go next to Councillor. Sorry, Alan, do you want to come in again?
Make a proposal on the back of that, and that's to propose that we write to say we did mention this bespoke package. Could that be considered and acknowledged as well? Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Adam. I knocked Councillor Armstrong's light off and she was just in front of Councillor Green. So apologies, Councillor Green. I'm going back to Councillor Armstrong first.
Thank you, Chair. And Chair, I apologise to you and the Vice Chair. I should have passed on my best wishes for your year ahead. I'm hoping you enjoy the year as much as other chairs and vice chairs have in that role. I'm sure you will. Chair, just really on the meeting we had with InvestNI, it was redressing regional imbalance, but just wanted to assure the Chamber that we really did put a strong case forward as to the need for urgency for actions from InvestNI for employees, because we don't want this being one more of these things that are sort of rolling on and on and on. We've had a devastating loss of 300 jobs. So we did emphasise the need for action on the ground for those who've lost their jobs and the impact that is having not only in the district in terms of economic terms, but also in families in the district. So, Chair, that has been strongly emphasised at that meeting, and that's something that I hope we are able to pursue with vigour. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Then I go to Councillor Seamus Green.
Thank you, Chair. Just following on from what Adam said and the proposal last month, I would agree that it would be good to get an answer on that. And I suppose, could we also add in it just a question of what package did Wrightbus, and I believe Gallagher's possibly before got, and strange enough, both from the same part of the world down there, what they actually got. And then we'd be able to maybe have a baseline to see what we'd be expecting.
Maybe Councillor Green, you'd be happy to include Michelin as well, that they were another major one in Ballymena which closed, and there's another package there for them as well. So are you seconding Adam's proposal to go back again? And are you happy enough to include the Michelin factory as well? Because that was another one that was even worse. Recent Gallagher's was a cigarette factory, whereas this was a tyre factory. Okay. So everybody agreed with that? Forcing you into it? Yeah, okay, thank you.
Chair, just also on that, on page 8 and item 4.7, just to draw your attention to 2 letters that have been received from the Committee for Communities. One is just in the normal letters, the other is other correspondence, item 4. Chair, members will be aware of the hybrid meeting regulations, and essentially this letter is asking the councils to confirm how we will comply with equality implications. In other words, I'm assuming that we will implement the hybrid regulations when we receive them. Obviously, our council made representations about our extreme concern as to how these were withdrawn at such short notice, and I think it might be useful to clarify if the Committee for Communities actually asked EFC if they gave any consideration to equality implications when they were withdrawn, because it's unusual to ask us without actually querying the parent department.
Yeah, this seems quite unusual. It's hard to work out whether the cart's in front of the horse is beside the cart, or the horse is actually in the cart. But I'm going to go to Councillor Feely here.
Thank you, Chair. That there might be no horse at all, but it seems of it. Yeah, but I find that very, very curious. They seem to be asking us about what we done about when it was out of our hands when they were took away. It seems like a nonsensical request they sent us, or maybe they just didn't understand the original letter we sent to them. But I'd be more than happy to boldly write to them to ask them if they asked the Minister what he'd done before he made the decision.
Thank you, John. Next we'll go to Councillor Adam Gallant.
Happy to second that. I don't think the Minister considered these things, and it's strange that we're being asked now. I'd be tempted to write back to them and say we were doing it for a few years there already. I don't think we need to answer it. It was already there on paper. But I'll leave it at that, Chair.
Second. Okay, thank you. And everybody's happy with that? So page 9.
Chair, and just to note, we've received a response from the DAERA Minister regarding the delay in the public inquiry and the water impoundment and abstraction licensing processes.
Councillor Podrick and Kelly.
Thanks, Chair. I suppose it is good to see that the Minister is well aware of the issues and is putting the wheels in motion to resolve the issue. I am also aware that the UUP are mindful to withdraw their motion this evening. And while this is welcome, it is still worth noting that this is a pure political stunt ahead of the election. The UUP have made their position on the gold mine very, very clear. I just want to assure them that they don't speak for the people of Mid Tyrone. Perhaps they need reminded that they lost this seat. This council and Sinn Féin remain totally opposed to mining.
Thank you. And you noting the letter, Podrick? Thank you. And Councillor Patrick Withers.
Yep. Thank you, Chair. And just want to wish you, the Vice Chair, the best luck in the year ahead. I'll second the noting of the letter as well. And I just hope the sentiments expressed by the Minister to ensure that there are no further delays to the public inquiry into Dalradian's gold mine proposal will come to fruition. For several years now, the people of the Spare and surrounding area have voiced their strong opposition to the gold mine. And as a public representative from Mid Tyrone, I share the wider community's concerns that this project poses for public and environmental health. Having attended the pre-inquiry, it was clear that departments such as DFI have much work to do to ensure they're up to speed for the public inquiry. And that's why it's crucial that this council plays a proactive role in the public inquiry. And I am pleased that we will be represented at the inquiry by expert witnesses who will act to defend the interests of the local community. The planning process will have a long-lasting and detrimental impact on the landscape, an area of outstanding natural beauty. And while I am disappointed the UP's proposal for tonight about a motion is trying to reverse this council's long-standing opposition to the gold mine, it would be an opportunity for us to reconfirm our opposition and to, I want to restate Sinn Féin's strong opposition to Dalradian's proposal if that motion is proceeds tonight. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, next we go to Councillor Seamus Green.
Thank you. And as the gold mine isn't that near my area, but there has been licenses granted for mine exploration or diamond exploration and different types of things, and fracking was tried in around the Fermanagh area as well. I thought I'd put my tuppence worth in. When I seen the motion, I thought that's a very dodgy motion to be putting in the mouth of an election. I thought that won't go down too well with an awful lot of the electorate. And then when I seen it then that the UUP was withdrawing it possibly this month, maybe to put it back again in September or July, I thought that's a very cynical exercise, but that's maybe just the cynic in me. Maybe the UUP seen the light and changed their mind, and there was none of that cynicism that I was feeling, because, as I say, I'm very cynical on these type of things.
Thank you. Yeah, no, page 9, page 10, page 11. Oh, sorry, page 9 or 10.
Thank you, Chair. And it's in relation to the item at the very top of page 10, it was 4.10. 4.10 on the waste and recycling working group. I mean, Chair, we raised it. I know I raised it at last month's meeting. We seem to raise this issue almost on a monthly basis now. And before I say anything else, I suppose I should say, I mean, I do appreciate the last few days. There doesn't seem to have been too many missed routes, and that's a welcome change from the trajectory or the place we had been for a long number of weeks and months. And it's something that's really came to light. I hadn't really, to be honest, whenever I started talking about this issue and started engaging with staff, senior management a number of months ago about it, I hadn't really properly grasped in terms of how it was impacting the staff on the ground, and particularly the staff working within the waste management teams. So what's happened over the last number of weeks, and I'm sure I'm not the only councillor that individual staff members and their families are approaching, but whenever I listen to them and listen to what they're hearing, I mean, and particularly on some of the routes, there's some routes in Fermanagh and Omagh that seem to be missed a disproportionate amount of time. And those staff on those routes now are starting, and it's not particularly recent, it's been happening for quite a while from what I'm hearing from the staff. But there are a number of households out of frustration, out of sheer frustration, are raising with those staff their frustration that bins aren't being lifted. And I just want to make it clear, and I know the staff on the ground would appreciate the support, the collective support of the 40 councillors within this chamber, that we recognise it's not the fault of the waste management teams on the ground. Because whilst they can look out the window on a Monday or Tuesday morning, or whatever day of the week the bin's been lifted, and they can see one bin being lifted, but the other bin being left at the side of the road, that is not a conscious decision of the staff on the ground. That is a policy, a corporate position which this council has adopted. So it's wrong. And I don't blame the households for it, because they aren't to know any better either. But it's wrong for us or for anyone to blame those individual staff members. So as far as I'm concerned, it's a staff welfare issue, because there are now serious concerns coming from within the waste management teams. And I've staff from particularly in Iron West, but those living all over the district council area have raised the issue now that they're feeling particularly vulnerable over this. And I'll not get into the Ports Road issue, but so there's that particular point. And then the second issue, Chair, I mean, even tonight, this council is very good at talking about things, roads, water, housing, the health service, things that this council doesn't particularly have any authority over. But what it's not sometimes very good at is speaking on things that it has responsibility over. So bins is one area, and it's related to this whole issue, Chair. I'm going to make a proposal again tonight.
If you make it quickly, Mark.
Yeah, I'll do that. It's in relation to the roundabouts, the maintenance of the roundabouts in Enniskillen and Omagh. I think I drove past the roundabout in Enniskillen, at the roundabout at the library 2 or 3 nights ago. Yeah. It's been sprayed with weed killer. I mean, we're June, the 4th of June, coming into peak tourism season. I mean, it's an awful representation for our town, Chair. And I know previously this council would have...
I'm going to bring you to a close there, Mark, please.
Yep. So, okay, very quickly, Chair. Proposal would be that this council, that we request a report be brought back to next month's meeting with options, firm options, costed options, fully fledged options, not the nature of the options paper we got over Christmas car parking, to allow the 40 council members to come to a decision on the reinstatement, the possible reinstatement of maintenance of urban infrastructure, particularly the maintenance and the groundskeeping of roundabouts within Enniskillen and Omagh.
Thank you, Mark. Councillor John Phillips.
Thanks, Chair. It's just members have to be mindful that what they say have an impact on what residents in our council area are thinking. And it is very frustrating when bins aren't lifted, because it's a quarter of our budget basically goes on waste and recycling, and there's an onus on us all to try to get this right. But if members constantly speak on this subject without fully realising the impacts, they shouldn't be coming back in then complaining about the impacts. Because I've seen on posts by some members saying that some councillors don't take this seriously and you should go and speak to those members and stuff like that. It's playing cheap political football, and it really is the members and the staff that work for us as councillors who are really coming under pressure here, and some in the media are taking cheap shots at us and all as well, you know. But it's what real leadership is, that you work with the council workers and the council officials, and we do try to get this, and because we're in regular contact with the things, and because the seasonal staff now, it will be relieved for a bit, probably coming into the summer months, and maybe come October, September time again, it may get worse until we get a fully realised solution to this. But we should all be not taking cheap shots and working our best with the council to get this sorted.
Thank you. Next we go to Councillor Adam Gannon.
Thank you, Chair. Firstly, to recognise that our staff on the ground are not responsible for this. They're just out trying to do their job. And of course, it is regrettable that any of them have faced annoyance or anger or comments from members of the public in this. Because at the end of the day, they're out to do their job just. Now, I do believe I was chatting to the Chief Executive via email with this. We have a report coming on this issue this month, which I think will be very important for this council to consider. I think we need to be real here and say that if it takes money to solve this issue, and I know it's not that, there are underlying contractual issues that are at play here as well, but if it takes money...
Interrupt. Guys, if you could keep your whispers down to whispers. If I can hear you, there's something wrong, because I got a lot of money because I've got bad hearing. So I'll go ahead, Adam.
Yes. So I was basically saying, if it takes money to solve the problem, we have to be willing to spend it. We have to be willing to take potential hit somewhere else in the budget to make it happen, because this is a core service. For many, it's the main service or only service they receive from the council, or that ratepayers receive. And you know, when it was brought to when it came to us deciding our budget earlier in the year, we said this was an issue. You know, that was why one of the reasons we voted against it at the time, because we didn't think the budget that was there would solve the issue, and that the issue would remain, especially when it's such a core issue. We'll never get everything right. There'll be stuff we do wrong, the bins is something we have to get right, in my opinion. I will, so I look forward to that report. I'm happy to second the report that Councillor Robbins is bringing. I think it's worth considering whether we choose to go for it or not. We should consider the implications of it and whether it would be a worthwhile thing to do. And at least that way, all the information is there for councillors, and whatever decision is made. But really, what we're doing is we're talking about next year with that at this stage, probably by the time it gets through council and all, because if it's brought to next month, we're talking September, and then October for ratification. So you're not going to be planting too many plants then at that stage of the year. But regardless, I would also ask that in such a report, that consideration, if you're specifically mentioning roundabouts, sponsorship of local businesses considered to mitigate any financial impact. But that could form part of a larger report on the issue. I think it would be wise to look for the finances from everywhere and see if we can make a success out of it. I understand there may need to be communication with DFI on it too, so a full report would be welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. I'm going to allow the Chief Executive to come in here.
Chair, it's just on, Councillor Gannon was maybe referencing, I think there's a couple of points I do need to comment though upon. And Councillor Ovens has referenced staff welfare. There are particular and appropriate mechanisms for staff to raise issues and concerns, and they are not the way that Councillor Ovens has described them. And in so doing, he is compromising himself and the individuals concerned. So I'm sorry, Councillor, but it is directly contrary to the code to do what you have described. It's as simple as that. In terms of the proposal, just to be clear, we're speaking now about infrastructure the council doesn't own. So I would have thought it may be more appropriate to go to the people who own the infrastructure, namely DFI, to ask them their arrangements for maintenance, for upkeep, and why would we be paying our money to a third-party organisation. Similarly, in terms of sponsorship, the arrangements that are applied elsewhere by DFI are on their assets, their facilities. The council took a decision that we would not be maintaining land owned by third parties, including government departments. If that is a change, certainly that is fine, but it is somewhat perverse that we would be maintaining the properties of other individuals as opposed to the council itself.
Thank you. Councillor Roy Crawford.
Thank you, Chair. Just to pick up on Chief Executive's point, I certainly would be in favour of all stakeholders, such as DFI and that, to be contacted, and maybe some kind of a meeting around perhaps a solution to our roundabouts. Certainly, I'm disappointed as a town councillor. I'd like to see those maintained a lot better. I understand the council has financial constraints. I appreciate that, but it is a tourist town, and I think it's very disappointing that our town has got to this state. So I'd appreciate maybe a bit of an update on what can be done by the Chief Executive and the staff. Thank you, Chair.
Mark, you've been in before on this and went well over. I'm going to let you in briefly, but if it's going to become protracted, I'll cut you off.
No, it won't be extended at all, Chair. It's just very briefly, a very quick point or short point of clarification. Daniel Haley from, I think he's DFI, he sat in either your chair or the vice chair's. The vice chair's in last, I think it was November, we had the special meeting with DFI in this room, and I asked him specifically, what are you going to do over the roundabouts? Will you maintain the roundabouts? Because I cited what happened last year and the shambles people within the council found out. They were ripped out the next day, all at the expense of ratepayers. I mean, and left then that roundabout looking disgraceful for the rest of the year. So I just want to put that on record. We already have asked DFI. Ideally, yes, it would be DFI maintaining them. We've asked them. DFI have made it clear they won't, because DFI will have the roundabout there for the movement of vehicles. It's not DFI's job, as they would see it, to have the town looking well. I would see it as part of this council's responsibility. Yeah. If it's not a statutory responsibility, the council did it for years.
Mark,
the council did it for a number of years.
There, so
but again, this shows you the limitations of this council.
You, Mark. Right, next we go to Councillor Hawkes.
Thank you, Chair, and may I wish you and Liam all the best for the incoming year. I would just like to say on this issue of roundabouts, I did myself write to the road service, and they specifically, and I can send it forward to you, sent me back an email to say it was the direct responsibility of Fermanagh and Omagh District Council. So they would take no hand with the roundabouts. So it's something that would need to be sorted out. There needs to be a clear distinction made who is in charge of the roundabouts, because this is now the second year that we are like, I'm here now, this is my second year to sit and the roundabouts have not been done.
Okay, thank you, Charlotte. I'm going to bring in Councillor Thomas O'Reilly.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, for many years, as you well know from your experience in the council, there was a tentative agreement with DFI that council would cut grass, would keep roundabouts, would do a lot of things here. DFI have not cooperated with this council in any shape or form, and they have a responsibility to do things. So you can't talk about roundabouts in isolation of everything else. As I keep saying, for 25 years, there is life outside of Omagh and Enniskillen, even though sometimes council might be forgiven for always concentrating on Enniskillen and Omagh. The two main towns, absolutely, but this goes beyond just roundabouts, and it is important that we do not just have a meeting where Daniel Healy or somebody else can say, no, we're only going to allow traffic to go around those roundabouts and we don't care what they look like. That isn't acceptable in any shape or form. And it isn't about us, in my view, as a council picking up the shortfall there. It is about redoubling efforts to push DFI to be taking the proper responsibility for their own infrastructure and maintaining communities in a standard that allows citizens to be proud of their areas. Because quite frankly, over the years, DFI have fallen very short on that, and I appreciate its budgets and all, but we cannot be picking up the pieces. If we start setting a precedent here of picking up the pieces on roundabouts, on grass cutting and all else, there is many other departments that would not belong in asking the council to pick up the pieces. And we had for years a lobbying campaign, and it is a strong lobbying campaign with Forest Service to see themselves more than just growing trees. They had a responsibility about recreational area, about giving people opportunity to use those forest areas. And eventually the light did dawn on them, and they changed track, and we now have wonderful facilities. It is the same, in my view, with DFI, Chair. Their infrastructure, their responsibility, step up to the plate and do what they're supposed to do, Chair, not ask the ratepayers of this council area to pick up the tab for their shortcomings.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor McElduff.
Yeah, I think the council could, for the benefit of members, maybe write a memo to all members, clearly establishing the boundaries as to what DFA Roads is responsible for and what the council is responsible for. It's very blurred, in the minds of people, but it's not really blurred. I think DFA Roads are hiding from the people. And you're not allowed to say that, of course, that's terrible to say that, but they're hiding from the people. They're hiding, and they're putting us out front as if we are the people to contact about, for example, even potholes. Some years ago, I put up a message that pothole hotline, and I gave the DFI Roads number below it, and they asked me to take that down. That's going to do serious harm. But that's who's responsible for potholes, is DFI Roads. Now, I'm going to have a chat with Daniel Healy myself tomorrow about all this. Recently, NILGA met, the full membership of NILGA met to prepare for the planning, the partnership panel meeting, which I think has since been pulled because of the election. But in preparation for that, one of the big themes coming across all council areas was this business of the council being blamed for what DFI Roads does, have statutory responsibility for, and this idea that DFA are willfully hiding and not treating councillors very respectfully. when they're just raising issues of the common good. That came across heavily from councillors, for example, in Clogher Valley and Mid-Ulster, and that was put on the agenda. But right now, I was contacted the other day by a gentleman, and he said that DFA roads need to ensure that overgrown grass in the vicinity of their own statutory signs like stop, health and safety type statutory messages from DFA roads, they're grown over. Could DFA roads prioritise the removal of the grass blocking visibility for statutory signs? And they seem to have forgotten altogether about the cleanliness of signs. I mean, on the approach to the Grange here, if you're coming in from the Gorton Road side, there's 3 signs, and they're the most awful dirty signs, and they've been like that for years. And they just say to you things like, oh, the cleaning of these attracts a low priority at this time. And you see, whatever the person says to you, oh, you're passing the buck, that's not the issue at all. It's all about whose statutory responsibility it is. And if it's DFA road statutory responsibility, then it's their statutory responsibility, it's not ours. But I think in relation to gritting of footpaths in the winter, gritting of roads in the winter, is there a memorandum of understanding in towns that blurs it a bit? But we should have a memo from our council officers to the councillors explaining the boundaries and the lines of demarcation. So I would propose that we do that internal memo initially, as soon as possible. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Barry. Your time is just coming up there. As you should all be aware, we do have a meeting, the Oma and Mid-Ulster and West Tyrone on Monday morning, and Enniskillen, Aaron East, Aaron West and Aaron North on Monday afternoon. Perhaps we should do like we did for the Invest NI meeting, where we have a pre-meeting so as we have a clear plan, because it seems nobody's happy with the service we're getting, and perhaps if we were all prepared, instead of bouncing about from one thing to another, it would maybe be a more concerted method of attack in order to get some positive outcome for this council area. So next I'm going to go to Councillor Tommy Maguire.
Carly, thank you, Chair. Again, not for the first time, we've had councillors speaking directly to our council staff. And I remember in this chamber when a councillor mentioned that he had spoken to staff, one of the directors or officers did interject to say that we as councillors have signed a document or an undertaking that we do not negotiate directly with staff, and that staff have also signed up to a contract or whatever to say that they don't directly speak to us about their staffing issues. But yet, not for the first time, Councillor Ovens decides to rattle on regardless of these terms and conditions that we're all supposed to have signed up. So, and again, I'm thinking now on Monday evening, I think the training on the standing orders is happening. And I think I did ask at a previous meeting that there's a further expansion to that training beyond the standing orders, because obviously there's some clarification still required in the understanding of ultra vires, which means that we as a local government cannot legally spend money or our ratepayers' money on another department's responsibility. That's my understanding. I look forward to the training on Monday evening, and it will be further clarified for myself, but I believe I have a gist of it. The issue of the staffing matters. Councillors taking up time in this chamber, going out live on YouTube, discussing matters where they openly admit they discuss staffing matters with staff, while the rest of us adhere to the code of conduct as best we understand it. I feel, again, Chair, not putting pressure on you, but the Chair must be mindful that those conversations must be shut down a bit quicker than it was this evening. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Tommy. Next we go to Councillor Josephine Deacon.
Thank you, Chair. And this is a most interesting debate, Chair, and it's an important debate, and thank you for devoting the time to it. I quite agree, Chair, that with members who say quite forcibly that the approaches to our towns and villages these approaches are really important, and in the past, where those roundabouts have been decorated with flowers and planting in really a most beautiful and effective manner, and sometimes those roundabouts were sponsored by private businesses, which obviously is most welcome. I think that's important because we are, after all, trying to promote our tourist product, and therefore we want to portray our towns and villages as being pleasant places to visit, and the entrance to our towns and villages is really important. The debate really centres around, and the Chief Executive has clarified for us whose responsibility it is to maintain those roundabouts. And the fact of the matter is, Chair, and you well know it, that whilst it remains the responsibility of DFI roads to look after the roundabouts, in the same way as it's not their priority to wash the signs, it is not their priority. They will not prioritise the maintenance and planting of those roundabouts. They hardly commit to repairing the potholes on the roads, let alone maintaining the roundabouts. So I think what we need to do as a council is to find some common ground, to find some way of working with DFI to look at these issues. And I mean, historically, there must have been a precedent as to how we were able to achieve those nice roundabouts. And I would like to see that work progress. So it's about finding compromise, working together, partnership working. That's how we get things done. And when it comes to the delivery of public services, Fermanagh and Omagh District Council has never been wanting. And I think it just requires us to liaise closely with those government departments and make it clear to them that, you know, this is a priority for us if it's not a priority for them, and to try to find some common ground. Chair, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next we go to Councillor Keith Elliott.
Thank you, Chair, and just like to wish yourself and your deputy there all the best for the incoming year. Obviously, there's been a lot been said about the roundabouts and that, and I suppose we were blessed in Enniskillen for years that the council did maintain them and maintain them to a high standard, and obviously now that they've gone wild, that it is awful looking. And yes, they have spread weed killer there in the last 10 days, and you can see especially the one at the library, it's a disgrace. And I think actually when they tarred the road there last year, they should have tarred the roundabout and be done with it. And but it is, in my opinion, it's a health and safety issue, a lot of these roundabouts, because you can't see what's coming at different angles, whether that's Nervenstown Road or wherever. And yes, there was the one at the hospital on Cherrymount were stoned over. But sure, the weeds are going through them now. They're going to be as bad as ever in no time. But obviously, we're going to and fro with the road service. They're not going to play ball with us. But I think as a council, we should be going to the road service and asking them, and I'll make it a proposal to write to them tonight, that the tarmac over the roundabouts once and for all, and, you know, just finish them off with tarmac, because they're not, we're going to waste our time going round and round in circles looking for somebody to plant flowers in them. The council's not going to do it. The road service is definitely not going to do it. But I'm sure they're dumping tar at times. They might as well dump it on the middle of the roundabouts. And that's a proposal to write the road service to ask them to tar over them roundabouts, because it's, in my opinion, it's a health and safety issue. And we're going to go round and round in circles, and we're not going to get anywhere with it. So just blacken them off once and for all, and there'll be no issue. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith. Next we'll go to Councillor Seamus Green.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, the roundabouts might be a bit unsightly, but I would far rather that we had talked for the last half hour in relation to something that's really dangerous at the minute, as the sight lines at junctions where the grass hasn't been cut. It'd be far better that we write to road service, and I'd be proposing that we write to them to get all the rural junctions, the sight lines of them cut, because there's people out 2-3 foot on the road before they can see if there's anything coming or not. At this time of the year, we get complaints every year around rural junctions and the sight lines, and we seem to always leave it that couple of weeks too late when these junctions become really dangerous. And at some stage, unfortunately, somebody will get badly injured or killed. Now, how pretty a roundabout is seems to occupy some people's minds. It doesn't particularly occupy my mind because I don't be in Enniskillen that often. I don't be really looking at the beauty of the roundabouts around, and I just be going round them, you know, because I've something to do, and I don't really be passing any remarks on what they look like. But you know, if we were going down that road of roundabouts and like my garden can get overgrown or grown at times there, and maybe people driving past might think it terrible looking. Could I ring the council and ask for it to be cut? And the library in Enniskillen could do with a lick of paint. Maybe we'd get somebody from the council to throw a lick of paint on it. And I suppose on a serious point, if we really analyse it, this all goes back to Tory cuts. And like the Department of Infrastructure is like every other department struggling to do stuff with a very limited budget. I remember having somebody out on a safety issue a number of years ago, and maybe 5-6 years ago, and they were saying they had 700,000 5 years previous to that to spend on safety issues. That year they had 70,000. So, you know, this is what we're dealing with, and departments are struggling the same as everyone else. But I suppose to not put a fine point on it or that, and I don't want to end up, you know, saying the wrong thing, but there's a particular councillor in here never seems to fail to get the thing wrong every month, like, you know, so I hopefully learn anyway.
Okay, Councillor Crawford, you've already been in. Is it something brief or what?
Thank you, Chair. Just when we're talking about flyers and stuff, maybe, and I know this falls on the remit of the council, it's the new feature that has been put up there in recent, maybe the last year or so.
Right, Roy, I'm going to stop you there. We're going to stick with this here topic here.
That's okay.
If you want to.
Well, can I then maybe second the proposal from Councillor Evans?
Yeah, thank you. It's already been seconded by Councillor Gannon. Councillor Earl Thompson.
Thank you again, Chair. I'll be very brief. Agree with a lot that has been said here this evening, but particularly with regard to the signage coming into the town. Councillor Green refers to grass growing up and things like that. That's particularly bad in the rural area, but as a town councillor, we're highlighting what's relevant to the county towns, and the roundabouts are a particular issue, and they keep getting raised, especially coming this time of year. We're coming into as someone else said, you know, there's tourists coming into Home area as well as Fermanagh. So this district has a lot of tourists coming in, so it's very important that we get it right. Oma show's coming up very, very shortly, and that's one of the issues that we're getting sort of representations made to us on. So, you know, if people see this in the gateways to our county town of Tyrone, which is the largest town in this district, I mean, it's just not on, and DFA have to get their act together on this one. There was some work carried out by some volunteers on the Swinging Bars roundabout, where they just removed the weeds, which actually made it look a lot better. But you know, it's just a simple thing. You know, it's not rocket science. You know, if they can go in and just remove weeds and tidy it up a bit. It was an absolute shambles, and it was the wildest looking thing I've ever seen coming into the county town. So leave me comments there, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next we go to Councillor Feely. Anthony Feely, that is.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I just want to make a wee comment about, in case I forget, I want to second Ari's proposal there earlier on, and second Councillor Green's proposal here beside me. When the discussion was going on, me and Seamus was just talking about the junctions and the sidelines, and I had about 3 or 4 messages on my phone about roads in our way, and Seamus had the same. So there's a major issue down there. I know that the roundabouts is important, but and Earl said there that DFA would want to get to work on the roundabouts. They want to get to work on everything, not just the roundabouts. So I just wanted to make that comment. And Tommy was talking earlier on there about the code of conduct and stuff like that there, and about a councillor that in previous had spoken about staff, and I wouldn't be afraid to say it. It was myself. About 6 months after I was elected, somebody contacted me and I did bring it up at a council meeting. Very naive that time. I didn't really know much of the code of conduct, but I learned after that. But I remember that day I was just cut off straight away. And I can't remember, was it the chief executive that day or a director or whoever was in the chair, but it was just cut off. Like, so I think councillors talking with staff, they're going on like that there. I think it's a bit out of order as well. So I just want to second the two proposals.
Okay, thank you. Yeah. Okay, so Chief Executive is going to summarise the proposals and then see what everybody thinks.
So the first proposal that was seconded, Chair, was proposed by Councillor Ovens, seconded by Councillor Gannon, that we proceed to do a full option appraisal for the council to commence cutting maintenance of DFI-owned infrastructure. So that would be the approach roads and roundabouts. The second proposal that was seconded was by Councillor McElduff, seconded by Councillor Anthony Feely, that we would do an internal memo, I think it was described, really setting out the respective roles and responsibilities of DFI roads and the council, including, for example, reference to memorandum of understanding in relation to winter gritting or pavements or associated areas. And then the third proposal that was seconded was by Councillor Green, seconded by Councillor Anthony Feely, that we would write to DFI that they would undertake a full cutting programme at all rural junction sightlines, referencing the specific health and safety risks and concerns. We then did have a proposal by Councillor Elliott that wasn't seconded, that we would write to DFI, just referencing the making safe, essentially, and that we would tarmac over, or they would tarmac over the roundabouts.
Councillor Robinson, are you coming in to second that?
Second that. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So that's it. So just check
Right,
if you have agreement now on those.
Right, so I've had the proposals. Is this to clarify something, because I'm not continuing this debate?
It's just a correction on my proposal, Chair. Just I felt I'd raised it right, but I don't think how it was reported there is how the discussion did happen. It's not for all DFI owned infrastructure. I mean, I thought it was quite specific that I continuously referenced the roundabouts particularly. That is where I would like to focus the report to focus at next month's meeting, because I appreciate a full options appraisal will take much more than 3 weeks. So the focus, the primary focus, the target is the roundabouts.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that, Mark. Councillor Gannon.
Very brief, Chair, and thank you for letting me back in. It was more on the point I made about sponsorship. Perhaps there's a way to do this that doesn't cost us anything at all if we facilitate with businesses and DFI, but I'll leave that to the report. I'll not second guess that, Chair.
Yeah. Okay. So is everybody? Okay, so with 3 proposals, there's the first one's Councillor Ovens and Councillor Gannon. Everybody in agreement? Okay, so we'll set that one to vote, please.
So your light will come on in a minute.
You press the light. You know, that's the scary, but it's not. That's what they're worried about. But it's not itchy yet, but it will be. It will be. I know it will be when it starts healing it.
Yeah.
But all the senses. Okay, so the first proposal is 14 for, 19 against, so that proposal falls. The second proposal is Councillor McElduff's internal memo, seconded by Councillor Feely. Everybody agree with that one? Yeah.
Sightlines, the Councillor Green,
Right.
Councillor Feely, the
So the third one is the sightlines proposed by Councillor Seamus Green and seconded by Councillor Anthony Feely. Nothing wrong with that. We're all in agreement. Okay. And the third one is the tarmac and over of the roundabouts proposed by Councillor Keith Elliott and seconded by Councillor Paul Robinson. No, so that's going to go to the vote.
services, but still.
Okay, so we're setting up another vote. There is correspondence that has just come in and it'll be available tomorrow night for the cutting regime for the forthcoming season by DFI Roads. So that'll be presented at the Environmental Services tomorrow evening.
Yes.
So this is Councillor Al's proposal that's going to the vote. Okay. What are we doing? So we're just waiting on the result to come up on the screen here.
I think you could say 8 for, 2 abstentions, and the remainder
Yeah.
are opposed, so that's defeated.
Yeah. So I think it looks like 8 for, 2 abstentions, and the remaining are against. I just don't have the numbers here, but that motion falls, or proposal falls. Okay, so we're going to move on here. So it's page 11, page 12. Page 12, Chief Executive's
Yep.
coming on page 12.
Just to say, Chair, response from the Minister for Infrastructure. This is regarding safety issues at Timor Cross. And the Minister sets out the, I suppose, previous efforts that have been undertaken and has advised if councillors have any particular concerns regarding speeding at the location that we should notify the police accordingly.
Okay. So I'm looking for somebody to propose, and Councillor Gannon's indicating it.
Thank you, Chair. Just to propose note and to say thanks to the Minister for his work on this. Local DFA staff have since been in touch, and work is underway, and hopefully we'll see a positive result. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Mahan had indicated something under any other business, but I think he's going to second Councillor Gannon there, and or the note of that, and then he's going to bring in his any other business now. I think it's an appropriate time.
Thank you, Chairman. Quite happy to second Councillor Gannon's proposal there for noting. I was wondering, Chair, if we could possibly write to the Minister of Infrastructure in relation to the placing of safety signs at schools. We've talked about this before at length here, especially outside nursery schools. That's not this privately owned type things. We've contacted them previously and we had got different messages back from the department. And the last one, I believe, is that there was no policy in place for this at all. Now that we have a minister in place, could I request that we write to the minister and ask him to address this sort of unbelievable situation, that there is no policy in place for this, and that safety signs should be able to be placed outside these private nurseries? It is a matter of safety, and a solution should be able to be found as soon as possible. Thank you.
Thank you, David. And I'm going to bring Councillor Seamus Green in.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I would tend to agree that we should write to see is there a solution that can be found on that. I would also suggest that we, if Councillor Mahan doesn't mind, that we also ask about the progress to the, remember the 20-mile-an-hour scheme that they were taking a review on it. It's bound to have been completed at this stage, and that we would emphasise that it would be reintroduced. I believe it was an extremely good scheme, and a lot of schools are holding out, hoping that it will be reintroduced. So if Councillor Mahan doesn't mind adding that in as well.
Okay, thank you, Seamus. And Councillor Mahan has indicated he's happy to include that. And bringing in Declan McCardle, Councillor Declan McCardle.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to second the thoughts of fellow councillors there. I have emailed and lobbied DFA for that Timor area there for flashing lights, for slow signs and all from the chapel up to the school, and I've got no response. I also looked for the speed ramps to be painted. No luck yet, but fingers crossed, and hopefully that'll do. As I said, flashing lights, 20-mile-an-hour speed limits, the whole lot, but I've got no response. But I will keep lobbying them the whole time like that there, and I second, and I totally agree with the councillors were saying there. And when I am talking, I just like to wish yourself and Elaine all the best for the next 12 months. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Declan. So you've heard the proposal by Councillor Mahan and seconded by Councillor Green. Are we all in agreement? Yeah, thank you. Page 13. Page 14. Page 15. Page 16. Chief Executive again, page 16.
Just thank you, Chair. At the bottom of page 16, a response from the Department for Communities, and this was in relation to really the transition measures that are in place in terms of the movements across to universal credit. So this is the response from the department.
Councillor Coyle.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'll note the correspondence. It doesn't really answer the question that I was asking at all, but I'll use the number that they've provided in that letter and see what comes of that. It hasn't answered the question at all, but I'll try the number and see how it goes.
Okay, thank you, Debbie. And is anybody seconding the noting of that? Councillor Paul Robinson. Page 16, page 17. Page 18. Oh,
So now you're to the planning committee. In the absence of councillor, are you going to another member? You're item 7 then?
yeah. Yes. Okay, so right, so we're on to item 7, which is to confirm the minutes of the planning meeting. So, so for accuracy, it's page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13, page 14, page 15, page 16, page 17, page 18, page 19, page 20, page 21, and Councillor Evans in absence, so I'm looking Councillor Thomas, Councillor Rainey first there, and Councillor Tommy Maguire.
Proposed, Chair.
Thank you, and Councillor Tommy Maguire second. Okay, so we're going to now page by page for matters arising in the planning committee. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, page 11, page 12, page 13, page 14, page 15, page 16, page 17, page 18, page 19, page 20, page 21. Okay, Sunday. So now it's environmental services on the 8th of May. Again, for accuracy, page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9. So go to Councillor Debbie Coyle, who's the chair of that committee.
I propose.
Somebody second, Councillor Paul Robinson. So go through the environmental services for any matters arising. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5. Councillor Michael Duff, page 5.
Yeah, Chair, if I could just maybe ask the Chief Executive to comment on the potential for Ireland's ancient east or Ireland's hidden heartlands to reach into Omagh and the Sperrins. You know, there's a natural fit there, really natural fit with Fermanagh Lakelands, the hidden heartlands. But, you know, in her assessment, where sits Omagh and the Sperrins and the potential to benefit from some of these new brandings? Thank you, Chair.
I certainly think there's potential, Chair. I think the challenge, and there could also actually, particularly in the upper parts of the Sperrins, there could also be links in the context of the Wild Atlantic Way if the route actually came in. I think that the challenge that we may find is the funding formula to actually utilise the brands which are associated, such as Ireland's Ancient East, Hidden Heartland or Wild Atlantic Way, which have not traditionally been associated with Northern Ireland. And I think the Minister in his comments at the tourism conference indicated that that will be the first challenge. So I think there is scope. My understanding from the Minister's comments that day, Chair, was that he would be establishing a working group to include local government representation as to how this can be sort of operationalised. And given, I suppose, the council's interest in the subject matter, but also the fact that we are quite unique in that we have two distinct brands and offerings, it may well be worth writing and, I suppose, volunteering the council as a pilot area and something that we could actually work proactively with both Tourism NI, but Fáilte Ireland and Tourism Ireland on the initiative.
Bringing in Councillor John Feely.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. And I maybe make a proposal that we contact the Minister to see if we could be a thing. And I also want to highlight the fact that there are plenty of county councils in the south that would be in our unique position as well. I know both Leitrim and Sligo are hidden heartlands, but they both have coast as well. So it wouldn't be a novel idea that we have a mixture. And maybe also, because of the Tyrone connection, we should really be contacting the other Tyrone councils as well to see if they'd be willing to be involved in the Tyrone aspect of it.
Okay. Barry, I'm going to let you back in there briefly.
Second it, John.
Okay,
Second
thank you, Barry.
Thank you.
So you've heard the proposal by Councillor John Feely and seconded by Councillor Barry McElduff and expanding this hidden heartlands and ancient east. Are we happy to go ahead with that? Okay, thank you, everybody. So page 7, page 8, back to page 7. Councillor Coyle.
Just on the motion regarding Women's Aid, I actually, I'm just wondering if we could actually, I know we say, I said on that evening to call upon government departments, mainly the Department of Education, Department of Justice, within the motion to review the levels of funding available to Fermanagh Women's Aid and Women's Aid in general, but for us, Fermanagh Women's Aid, and essential delivery of its training programmes. I'm just wondering, could I propose tonight that we do actually write to those two departments and ask, you know, what levels of funding and support that they are willing to give towards Fermanagh Women's Aid and for domestic abuse in general in the Fermanagh and Omagh area, please, and because that includes Omagh Women's Aid as well.
Chair, certainly my understanding is we did on the back of the motion issue correspondence to that effect, but if not, Chair, but I think we did that, but if not, we can take that forward as a proposal, maybe just to get a second or.
Yeah, so if somebody would like to, Councillor Nolene Hayes is seconding that, and if it isn't already covered, then it will be covered. Is everybody in agreement? Okay,
Okay, thank you.
Page 8, page 9. Okay. So next we go to the minutes of the Regeneration and Community Committee on the Tuesday, the 14th of May. I'm going through for accuracy. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, and page 11. I'm going to go to Councillor Mark McCannon. Thank you, Mark.
Opposed the minutes, Chair.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Rainey. Keep them turning you on, Mark, sorry. And next we'll go through for Matters Arising. Page 1, page 2, page 1, Councillor McElduff.
It's actually item 4.1 there on the second page. Anti-poverty strategy. Just to report that following a recent NILGA strategic policy framework meeting, the anti-poverty network, which is active across the region, cited this council as a council of good practice, very good practice. A lady called Becca Bohr presented, and she said that even to look at the websites of the 11 councils in the north, she said Fermanagh and Omagh comes up well, signposting to relevant organisations, relevant services, and our own content of our own programme, you know, our own strategy. So just to report that good news back. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. That's welcome. Thank you, Barry. So page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8, page 9, page 10, and page 11. Oh, Barry again, thank you.
It's 10 there. That whole area there of the scrutiny committee at Stormont regarding the Windsor framework, that looks at obstacles to east-west mobility and maybe even north-south mobility. There's an issue that has been brought to my attention by post office people in Oma, and I would like this explored in this context. It's my understanding that if a local post office sends off like a passport processing to Dublin, say Passport Express, it's been delayed. It's been delayed in a very, very unusual way that surprised me. There's a question comes back to the post office about customs clearance, north-south. And it took me by surprise. And there are delays in the processing and the passage of that postal item back to the post office. And there's even a possibility that it goes to a holding centre in England before it comes back here. So An Post are the players here with the Royal Mail, I presume. If we could establish the obstacles to north-south mobility for correspondence of that nature, and am I hallucinating, or is there an actual request for customs reference details coming from Oma to Dublin in these matters? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Barry. Have we a seconder for that? Yeah, Councillor Debbie Coyle. We're all in agreement? Thank you. So page 10, page 11. Okay. So next we come to the minutes of the Policy and Resources meeting on Wednesday, the 15th of May, and we're going through that for accuracy first. So page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8. And I think I'm going to go to Councillor Thomas O'Reilly, who, did you chair part of that meeting? Are you happy to propose, Thomas?
Happy to propose, Chair.
Thank you. And a seconder, Councillor Josephine Deacon. Okay, so we'll go through this matters arising. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5. The executives come to page 5.
Thank you, Chair. Just in relation to the query or the discussion at the meeting regarding the SOM and the Council's previous attendance. So the Fermanagh and Oma District Council has attended on 2 occasions in the 1 year, which was in 2016, in July to the SOM and to the SOM and Guillemot in September. In terms then of the costs associated, and sorry, we've had no other participation since then. In terms of the costs, based on current prices, Chair, and discussions with other councils who are sending delegation, it's in the region of just over £1,000 per person for attendance. Now, that would be subject to final flight details and final accommodation arrangements, but in and around £1,050 would be the estimate.
Thank you. So Councillor Buchanan's indicated here.
Thank you, Chair. Well, just on a proposal on that item, I propose that the council would send a delegation of an agreed amount of members, whether that's chair or not. So I'd make that proposal. Thank you.
Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Sometime, as you've alluded to, since this council sent representations across, And when other councils in Northern Ireland, most of the councils in Northern Ireland are actually sending representatives across, I think it's timely that we do so after a period of some 8 years there. So I'm happy to second Councillor McKellen's proposal. Thank you, Chair.
Okay. Thank you. I suppose it should be worthy to note that Councillor Rainey has represented the council at his own expense on occasions. So, what? Annually. Okay. Okay. We would need a specific number for the delegation because obviously for the arrangements to be made. So if you want to revise that, Councillor Thompson.
Yeah, I'll let Councillor McCallan come in maybe on this, but it has been proposed a cross-party delegation. And as far as I remember back, that's what happened in, I think, October 2016, maybe it was, at the Chief Executive, keep me right in that one. There may have been a cross-party delegation with there. I think it's right that, you go to Thiefel, you go to the Ulster Tower, you go to the Irish Division memorials and everything else. So it's not discriminatory in any way, and it's all our histories. So I think a cross-party delegation should be sent. And why should this council be any different? Thank you, Chair. I'll make that a proposal.
Okay.
Again.
Just to be clarified, is that 6 members you're looking to go in, or a maximum of 6? Sorry, Councillor Thompson.
Thanks again, Chair. Okay, I'll say cross-party, but I'll make it a maximum of 6 if that helps to get the thing across.
Okay.
Maximum 6 members.
Okay, so
thank you.
I think we'll go with your original proposal, Mark, and have it that it's a maximum of 6, and that's seconded by Councillor Thompson. If you're both happy with that, see if it's complicating it back and forward. Is that okay?
Just need to confirm names very quickly.
Okay, and then we would need names because you're very tight for time here if that was to happen. So first of all, I have to see if all the chambers in agreement. It's a cross-party. A cross-party delegation goes to the annual Somme Memorial in France on the 1st of July, and is up to a maximum of 6 members. So is everybody in agreement?
Chair, could I ask how long this is envisaged, this trip to take? The 1st of July is very close to another important day. Thank you.
Well, Chair, just in the past, and my understanding from discussions with other it's typically 3 nights, but it does depend. No, but sorry, it does depend on the final flight and so. But it's generally in and around 3 nights, maybe slightly less, slightly more.
Okay, so
Thanks for reading and keep it right in this, Chair. Thanks for letting me in again. But you generally would go out maybe about the 20th or 29th. You'll certainly be back on the 2nd. So that'll allow Councillor Armstrong to do her bit. So you'll be definitely back on the 2nd.
Okay.
From my
thank
memory.
you.
Thank you.
And we're all in agreement? So are we in a position to make nominations, or do we need them? We would need them within the next day or two. So Councillor Robinson.
Nominate now.
Okay, go ahead, please.
Councillor Hawks.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Robinson. Councillor Donnelly.
Yeah, Chair, I mean, both myself and Councillor Root are general election candidates, so will not be available, but I wish they was going a good trip.
Okay, thank you. And anybody else, if you're in a position? Councillor Warrington.
I'll nominate Councillor Crawford.
Okay, thank you, Victor. Okay. Councillor Gallen, do you wish to nominate, or do you want some time?
We'll take a wee bit of time to get back to you. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, thank you. And then Councillor Deacon.
Yeah, thank you. Well, Chair, I would very much like to go on this trip. I haven't had the opportunity previously, but I will need to check my availability, so I will get back as soon as possible, if that's okay, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And then I'll go to Councillor Coyle from Sinn Féin. Councillor, sorry, Danny. Okay. Councillor Coyle, do you require time?
Yeah, we'll come back to you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Green?
Can I just clarify, it's up to 6, isn't it? And if a party isn't sending, I presume that that doesn't pass on to somebody else.
Well, Chair, I think the proposal is up to 6 members on a cross-party basis. So I mean, if you wish to reduce on the basis of parties, or if you wish to ensure cross-party representation, but you use your 6 members, and the council has agreed up to 6 members. I think
Yeah,
as long as you
presume the if the party doesn't go, well, that's that position gone.
If that's what the council wishes, yes, you could do it either way.
No, Seamus, you're just complicating this. Okay, so Victor, quickly.
Chair, will you be going yourself?
No, I've a graduate. I meant to go last year and had a graduation, and I've been luckily enough I have another child who's graduating at the same time this year. and there's only one graduation. I'll just have to hope to survive another year. Yeah. So page 5, page 6, page 7, page 8. Yeah.
The delegation of council parties.
And that's you.
Okay.
So next we go on to item 15, which is the delegation of powers, and I'm going over to the Chief Executive again.
Sorry, Chair, just before we go to the delegation for environmental services, we received correspondence this morning from the Department of Agriculture, and it's about the Pet Abduction Act 2024. It may be something which the council wish to make a response to, but the closing date for responses is the 14th of June. So as such, we would be proposing the matter will be included tomorrow night on environmental services, and would also seek council powers to be included within this consideration.
Yeah, that's a very quick turnaround. So our proposed by Councillor Coyle, seconded by Councillor Anne-Marie Donnelly. Is everybody in agreement? And if you've any submissions or any thoughts on that, you need to get them in fairly sharp, because that's a quick turnaround.
Same resources for the annual.
And then go back to Chief Executive again for delegation of power, isn't it? Yeah.
It was just, Chair, for the annual governance statement for the year ended 31st of March. It has gone through the audit panel earlier this week, so recommending council powers to the Policy and Resources Committee.
Okay. Proposed by Councillor Deacon, seconded by Councillor Robinson. Everybody in agreement? Thank you. So now we're on to correspondence. Is item 16. 16.1 was the item which I had indicated earlier. I'll not be commenting on that, but I'm just going to continue chairing.
So, Chair, just this is correspondence from GMB and Unite the Unions, and they're setting out some concerns regarding road service and associated personnel. I know it's been referenced earlier in the meeting that we do have a meeting with DFI Roads on next Monday, the 10th. Perhaps you'll see the concerns expressed by the trade unions. So maybe in the first instance, Chair, members may wish to write to the department to clarify what the position actually is, referencing the trade unions' concerns, and then maybe taking a decision subsequent to the department's response in relation to whatever course of action you would like to pursue.
Bringing in Councillor Seamus Green there first.
Thank you. Yeah, this is extremely concerning that we would be losing this facility from Fermanagh. And I remember when they removed Bruipra depot. They said that it would have no consequences on what was happening in the area. Well, it certainly did. There was less work done around the Ayrn East area as a consequence. I've got evidence from people that were very close to the operation and reckon that there wasn't near the same amount of workers going out on the roads to repair potholes and other defects. So if Fermanagh now is losing the depot at Gillyvilla, it really is outrageous. I remember the time the Bruper one was closed, I put in 12 months to try and find out exactly what they were saving by closing it. And at the finish of it, some guy about Ballymena or something came back and said that they were actually saving nothing for the next 25 years. But after 25 years, they were going to save maybe £100 a year or something by closing it. So that's the type of thing that happens. I'm sure I still have the emails, the correspondence and that. So I would like them to be asked what exactly, why this has been done, what exactly is the consequences to Fermanagh. And I know rightly they'll come back and say there'll be no consequence, but there will certainly will be. It's again closing another service that's in Fermanagh, the station in Fermanagh. So I think we should strongly oppose this as a council. So that'll be my proposal.
Thank you, Seamus. Next we go to Councillor Adam Gannett.
Thank you, Chair, and I'd be quite happy to second that proposal. I don't think there's even a need for us necessarily. Obviously, we'll clarify it, but I don't think there's a need for us to clarify to come to a position on it because we know what the position is going to be. This is very worrying. Correspondence to see. We've already talked at length tonight about what we think of DFI in terms of their jobs managing the roads in not just County Fermanagh but across the north are in a terrible, terrible state, and I can imagine that this will be put forward as yet another temporary change that's not really temporary, that is just a staging until it is permanent, and it will have an impact. How on earth can you adequately cover such a large geographical area from one depot? Like we as a council, we have two depots for the Ohm area and the Fermanagh area because we recognise that. Now there is obviously operational things there that we keep in different areas for different reasons, and there's working together. But there's no good reason for this to be removed, and I would doubt that it would actually make that much of a saving for them. What are they going to do? Are they going to start paying staff the extra travel costs to have to go to a depot that's further away for work? Totally opposed to this. And we need to make that clear. Obviously, we should clarify, but we need to make it clear our opposition to this and our support for the union and their staff. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Armstrong.
Thank you. And just to support the other two councillors, I mean, what sort of message does this send to the road service staff with the proposed removal of the hub in Enniskillen? When I see temporarily, it brings back memories of other very important services that have been temporarily closed. So would have a concern about that. The paragraph on the top of the second page, Councillor Gannon has referenced the travel involved, but by removing a local hub in the Fermanagh area, you obviously are creating further travel time, and that will impact on productivity and efficiencies. So I just don't see how they can justify this to provide efficiencies when productivity will suffer. So I would support the previous comments. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Diana. Seamus, this is quite an unusual letter, but I think myself and the Chief Executive here think the only outcome is that we're writing to the Minister, DFI Minister, to highlight the concerns raised by the union, and we oppose the. Are you happy enough, Adam? Yeah. Okay. Is everybody in agreement? I don't think there should be any. Okay. Thank you.
Chair, the next item then is just the notification from the Housing Executive regarding the publication of their annual commissioning prospectus. and noting their continued engagement with the council, both through community planning and our LDB processes.
So, Mr. Deacon.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I would propose to note the correspondence and welcome this commissioning prospectus, and looking forward to further engagement between this council and the Housing Executive with hopefully positive outcomes. Chair, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And a seconder for that. Councillor Robinson, thank you.
Chair, we've dealt with item 16.3 in the course of the meeting. That was from the Committee for Communities. And then item 16.4 is from NILGA, and that is regarding the, it's really their pre-election guidance, and in particular now that we're in a period of pre-election sensitivity, just setting out some practical approaches for councils and for members to adopt.
Okay. Noting Councillor Earl Thompson and Councillor Adam Gannon. Item 16.5.
Chair, item 16.5, this is correspondence from Save Our Acute Services, SOAS, and they're bringing members' attention to the recently announced RQIA review into specifically around the pathways around the loss of emergency general services at the South West Acute Hospital. You'll have seen from the letter that SOAS are welcoming this announcement. They're in highlighting some aspects in particular of the terms of reference and encouraging that members engage with the process as well. I'm not sure, Chair, from the terms of reference if there is an opportunity for the council to engage formally in the process, or if that's something that members would wish to consider. But you'll have seen it's experiential, is largely referenced at paragraph 2, and obviously a report then will be forthcoming.
Okay, thank you, Alison. Proposes Councillor Coyle proposing to note, and Councillor Reid seconding. Okay, happy enough. The next one, 16.6, and this is the update regarding the St. Lucia site, and this is one of I find particularly concerning, this letter, but I'll allow the Chief Executive.
Yes, so Chair, members will be aware we've obviously had previous correspondence and engagements in relation to the St. Lucia site over a long number of years, and it's also part of the work on the Oma Place Shaping Plan. So this correspondence is from the department advising that the intention is now, following engagement with the Minister, that the MOD and DFI will proceed to sell the St. Lucia site. They reference that there's the general election guidance, so things will be delayed somewhat, but this will be progressed through the normal disposal procedures, and that will afford the council indeed and other public bodies to express an interest at this stage. I suppose Chair, members will be very well aware of the sensitivity of this site, its importance in relation to Oma, and the hope and expectation had always been that there would be a mechanism by which public use of the site could be facilitated, and the appropriate regeneration of this area would also be supported, as similar sites across Northern Ireland have been. So I think this has probably come as a little bit of a surprise, certainly wasn't anticipated, and clearly we're not sure now of the timescale until after the general election.
Okay, thank you, Chief Executive. Obviously, there's plenty of things, and I see Councillor Michael Duff and Thompson coming in. I'm going to Councillor Thompson first.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair, and thanks, Chief Executive, for that. I find myself in sympathy with your own comments, Chair. I think this is detrimental, particularly with regard to St. Lucia in the very centre of our town here, and such a historic site, and I note what the Chief Executive had said as well, and I know Director McLaughlin would have been involved there as well, with discussions that were ongoing maybe for a period of time with regard to St. Lucia. It's deeply disappointing that this is the way it's going, but I'm happy to propose to note, if we need a note, to propose to note the correspondence, but I'll leave my comments there now for now, Chair, because to me, I'm really concerned about this. Thank you.
Thank you. And bringing in Councillor Barry McElduff.
Chair, I'd be similarly concerned, and I think it should be opened up, available for public use and be central to regeneration in Omagh. So in line with that, I propose that we write to the Minister for Infrastructure, because what struck me about this letter is it's from a senior official of the department. We have previously engaged with the Minister on site in this chamber. We've discussed this matter. I would like to know the Minister's mind on the matter as well. So I propose that we write to the Minister for Infrastructure, detailing our concerns and our expectation and hope that this will be for the public good and that DFA will reverse this approach. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor McElduff. We often talked about maybe finding a home for the Fintona tram, but Councillor Deegan.
Yes, thank you, Chair. Well, I too, Chair, share your concerns and those of other members regarding what I regard as a very significant threat to the historic St. Lucia site. It's a very valuable site. It's in the middle of our county town. It offers enormous opportunities for regeneration, repurposing, and I think that we must do everything within our power to preserve this historic site. I want to second Councillor McElduff's proposal that we should engage directly with the Minister for Infrastructure, just expressing our concern regarding this proposed direction of travel, which we are totally opposed to. This is something, as the Chief Executive has said, that has simply come out of the blue and taken us all off guard, really. So I think the first port of call would be to meet with the Minister and discuss proposals. The letter does say a decision to advise MOD that DFI would not accept the historic core. You know, I understand, Chair, that it will take a lot of resource to regenerate and repurpose that site, but we are building for the future. This is the legacy of our county town, and I think it could be repurposed to the enormous advantage of our community. So I think we have got to work together to try to change the mind of the department in relation to this historic site. So I want to second Councillor McElduff's proposal, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Josephine. And next we bring in Councillor Stephen Donnelly.
Thank you, Chair. And likewise, I do want to reiterate the concern at the fact that this is so utterly unexpected and surprising, not least given the fact that, I mean, going back even to the establishment of the Opportunity Sites Working Group in 2019, and indeed lobbying that has been done much further back than that, this is something there has been extensive interest in and pursuit of answers for going back years. And the fact that this has just come so utterly out of the blue represents to me like a deeply haphazard approach to what is a vitally important element of Omag's legacy, of Omag's shared heritage. This is something that's vital to the identity and history of the town, and the fact that it's being dealt with in this way is something that I think is deeply regrettable. So I'm more than happy to support Councillor McElduff's proposal, and hopefully we will be able to see a reversal of this position in due course.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. I'm just going to let you in briefly, Earl.
Thank you, Chair, for letting me in very quickly. And I do support the comments that have been made there. It's just worth noting also that when we did have our cross-party delegation led by the Chair of the Council, Councillor O'Reilly, with the Minister, he was very well aware of the situation and our thoughts on it. So he's well aware of the situation even before we meet him. So maybe a further meeting is called for. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Earl. And Councillor McElduff, I'm going to let you in.
Thanks a million. As the proposer, thanks very much for letting me back in. Just to say, without going into too much detail, commercial sensitivity and all that, recently there has been a little bit of exploration about the film-making potential on that site. I have worked closely with a film-making company who are expressing interest, I chatted to our director, John Boyle, about that in line with his remit. But I would be grateful to DFA in the recent past for facilitating access to the site for a filmmaking company who are interested in doing something there. So it's for the public good. There's public interest in this. It shouldn't be sold off to the highest bidder. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mark.
Just a second for noting.
Okay, I'm not going to say, Josephine, you happen to note the correspondence as well, second to the noting?
Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. So everyone in agreement with the proposal by Councillor McElduff, seconded by Councillor Deehan, that we write to the Minister informing him of our concerns around the proposed disposal of this historic site? Everybody's in agreement? Thank you.
And Chair, just in the other correspondence, there's one letter that we haven't dealt with, and it is from MENCAP. It's a save the date notification for MENCAP's Learning Disability Week event, which will be held from 10:30 to 2 p.m. on Tuesday the 18th of June in the Long Gallery in Stormont. So the details are included, and as you'll see, we are being asked to notify of any reservations as the places are limited. So it's really just to seek if there are any expressions of interest for that event, please, Chair.
Okay. I'm just going to throw it open to any councillors there that wish to attend this event in the Long Gallery at Stormont. It is limited numbers. Councillor Thompson.
Here, in on past occasions, maybe it's something that the chair of the council or the vice chair in their absence would possibly attend and represent this council at a provincial level. Maybe that's I'm not going to make it a proposal, maybe it's something that you might want to think about.
Yeah, well, I'll look at investigating that if everybody's so propose somebody, so Earl's noting and Debbie second noting of that correspondence, and the chair will have a look and see if we can fit that in.
Concludes the correspondence, Chair. All the matters have been done.
Okay, so now 23, I think we can get the motions.
Okay.
Okay. See. Okay. Okay, so we're at item 17. I think we've enough time to cover the motions here before I was going to bring in the confidential and any urgent relevant business, but I think we've enough time to cover the motions and then go on to cover those before the end of the meeting. So go to item 17, which is the co-joint public inquiry into current halt Dalradian project, and the proposer is Councillor Warrington.
Thank you, Chair. Well, as the Chief Executive highlighted to other councillors today, we are withdrawing this motion at the minute, and it's not for any other reason rather than it was called in the middle of an election being called, or the election was called in the middle of it, with the preparation for the motion. So focus transferred to preparing, obviously, to try to get our candidate in FST elected.
Sorry, Victor. Sorry, it's just whether withdrawn or.
Yeah, well, we're withdrawing it, yeah.
Okay, thank you. Next to go to Councillor Crawford, who was seconding the motion.
Thank you, Chair. As seconder of the motion, I also wish to withdraw the motion at this stage.
Okay, thank you.
So Chair, just to advise members then, as the motion was formally submitted and is included on the agenda paper, Standing Order 19.3 applies. So as you'll have seen, a member may withdraw, but the council's consent is required for the motion to be withdrawn, and that would be signified without discussion. So it's just straightforward if members are content that it's withdrawn.
Okay, are you all happy that it's withdrawn? Okay, thank you. The motion's withdrawn. So 17.2, funding for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder diagnostic and treatment services, and the proposer of that is Councillor Deehan. And you 5 minutes, Josephine.
Thank you, Chair, for the opportunity of bringing this motion forward to Council this evening. This motion concerns funding for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder diagnosis and treatment within the Western Trust area. Members will be aware that attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, commonly known as ADHD, is a neurodevelopmental disorder, and sadly it often goes undiagnosed in childhood. ADHD is recognised as a condition which qualifies for disability benefits and funding. People are now much more aware of ADHD as a clinical entity, and this follows on from a number of high-profile individuals who have brought into the public domain their own diagnosis of ADHD. I'm thinking of the former BBC presenter Richard Bacon and so on. It is a condition which impacts on general functioning. At school, affected individuals may have been unable to focus on their studies and hence underachieve academically. Because of their restlessness and hyperactivity, they might have been seen by their teachers as being disruptive. And so often these people do not achieve their full potential. Furthermore, it impacts on their self-confidence and self-esteem, because they can often grow up to think that they're not able academically or intellectually compared with their peers. And also the impact of the disorder can frequently lead to high levels of anxiety and also to depression. So it has a major effect on people's lives and their ability to enjoy their lives and function in society. Whilst there are long waiting times for diagnosis and treatment of ADHD in the Western Trust for children, at present members will be surprised to learn that the Western Trust do not accept any referrals for adults with suspected ADHD. If these individuals are referred, the referrals are simply returned, saying that this service is not commissioned and not funded, and we can't accept the referral at that time. So this often forces individuals who either have private health insurance or who have other financial assistance to go privately to seek a formal diagnosis of their condition and to be prescribed medication for treatment. The complication is that often primary care physicians, GPs, will not accept the responsibility of prescribing these medications, which are meant to be prescribed in secondary care and not in primary care. So it's really a double whammy for these affected individuals. They have to pay for their diagnosis and they have to pay privately for their treatment. And I feel very strongly that this really disadvantaged this group of people. Now, Chair, I would refer you to the Northern Ireland Mental Health Strategy 21 to 31, which was published in June of 2021. And it was part of the New Decade New Approach Agreement. And in this strategy, it says the strategy would be person-centred. It will take a whole life approach and a whole system focus to ensure long-term improved outcomes for people with mental health difficulties. That strategy also identified a funding plan, which to my knowledge has not yet been implemented. Now, I'm fully aware of the funding crisis in the health service, but owing to the distress that these people are under, I'm asking for the Minister for Health to provide the necessary funding and the Chief Executive of the Western Trust
10 seconds, Josephine.
to do what he can to implement these services. In the event that there's a delay in this, then I would ask that the Trust will authorise extra contractual referrals to private providers or other providers so that these patients may receive their diagnosis and appropriate treatment. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Josephine. Next we go to Councillor Bernard McGrath, who's seconding the motion.
Thank you, Chair, and I just want to wish you all the best in the year ahead, and the Vice Chair as well. The SDLP will be supporting this motion proposed by Councillor Deehan. Research evidence in relation to ADHD and indeed all neurodevelopmental disorders is clear. Early intervention is key. The sooner an adult or indeed a child receives professional help, the prospects of better outcomes are greatly enhanced. The longer the delay in getting support only increases future problems and anxiety further down the line for patients. We all appreciate that funding is under pressure. This makes it all the more important that we seek to maximum the return for limited resources. It's also shameful that patients are being forced to pay for private assessment, diagnosis and medication. The spectre of a two-tier health service and a postcode lottery emerges once more. My colleague, Councillor Deehan, has already outlined the nature of the problems we face in our council area. Shamefully, we have no funded or commissioned adult ADHD diagnostic treatment service at all. How is it conceivable that the Western Health and Social Care Trust has no adult ADHD service? I appreciate that some people with ADHD will receive a diagnosis and support while they are still pupils at school, but the child service is under-resourced. Consequently, many children slip through the net, especially girls. We cannot rely on children's service to address the growing numbers of people who need support. Swift and concrete action, as outlined in this motion, is essential. I fully support this motion and formally second it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Bernard. That's well within the time. Eddie, Councillor Eddie Ruth.
Chair, Alliance will also be supporting this motion. Diagnosis of ADHD has improved in recent years, but the legacy of generations before that is that lots of adults have been undiagnosed for the majority of their life. The experience in primary care at the minute, we have seen a huge increase in the prescriptions coming our way, but they are coming our way from private healthcare clinics. It's a shared care drug that's generally used called methylphenidate. It puts GPs in a very difficult position because this is a secondary care drug and there is an agreement between trusts in the shared care guidance and the GP to prescribe that when the patient is being monitored properly by a consultant. There is no technical agreement in private clinics, and that puts GPs in a very difficult position, and patients will find that it is a postcode lottery and that some GP surgeries will simply not prescribe on that basis because they are at risk of being liable for any issues down the line. These patients are entitled to this treatment on the NHS, but as has been mentioned, the Western Trust do not have an adult ADHD service, but it's my understanding there is no adult ADHD service anywhere in Northern Ireland, and that has a detrimental effect, not just to people's bank balances, but to their actual health down the line too. And it's not just adult services, paediatric clinics are also experiencing very large waiting lists. And what's happening is that a lot of patients are being forced down the private route, but not necessarily to the correct clinicians. And quite often we find that it's not the correct clinicians that are being used. And Panorama recently had an investigation showing that a lot of people who are not properly qualified to diagnose ADHD are attempting to diagnose, sending letters to GP surgeries under the impression and that some patients have been wrongfully diagnosed with ADHD, and that has had a lasting effect as well. So, yeah, as has been repeated at the start, I and the Alliance Party would be supporting this motion, and we hope to see an improvement in the service down the line.
Thank you. And next we have Councillor Coyle.
Thanks, Chair. Yeah, I just want to support the motion as well, because even through our MLA office, we do get constituents ringing up about this very issue. There's just no help for adults who are looking for a diagnosis or have been diagnosed with ADHD and need treatment. There's just nothing there for them, so there's nothing really to add to what has already been said. So just that we're going to support the motion.
Okay, thank you. Next we go to Councillor Keith Elliott.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I want the DUP will be supporting this motion, and like the last councillor, it's something that I've come across with constituents and have raised through our MLA office actually, and was surprised to find out at that time that there was no service there for an adult, and to see the effect that it's having on the individual themselves, you know, was sort of, you know, with their mental health and things like that there, just because they can't get that treatment or the diagnostic treatment. And so I welcome the motion and anything to support it. It's, thanks for bringing it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Keith. Then we go to Councillor Victor Warrington.
Thank you, Chair. Well, I'm not going to go over all that's been said previously, just to say that the Ulster Unionist Party will be supporting the motion. It is a difficult situation. Anybody who is suffering from ADHD, again, I think nearly everybody in the room will have some experience of it with either family, friends, or relatives, or people within their area. So we will be supporting the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Victor. And finally, Councillor Diana Armstrong.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I support, along with my colleagues, support this motion. I'd like to thank Councillor Deehan and Councillor McGrath for bringing it forward. I just want to ask one question of Councillor Deehan. It's in her experience, is a service available in other trusts? And so it's not available within Northern Ireland. It's just that occurred to me. That's a very important issue that is province-wide. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Happy for her to answer your question during her summing up. Okay, thank you. Councillor Deehan, come back to you. If you just, yeah, thank you. So
thank you,
like
Chair.
up, please.
Thank you, Chair. And I want to thank members for their support of this motion, which has received cross-party support. I want to thank Councillor McGrath for seconding the motion. This council, Chair, as you will be aware, has a very strong track record in supporting the provision of mental health services. And I think this motion going forward from Fermanagh and Omagh District Council will highlight to the Minister for Health and to the Western Trust the importance of having this service, because so many people in childhood slip through the net. They don't have the diagnosis and they live with the consequence of that failure to diagnose, what is really a very far-reaching and fundamental disorder which disrupts lives. And the improvement in self-confidence, self-esteem and functionality for people who are correctly diagnosed and treatment is immense and will mean a great deal to them for the rest of their lives. In answer to Councillor Armstrong's question, I think that some trusts in Northern Ireland do have a system whereby if they don't have the service up and running, largely possibly through staffing issues, then they at least compile a waiting list whereby patients can be taken off that waiting list once the service becomes available. So there are a lot of things that need to be done. It's not just funding, it's about putting in the workforce, suitably trained psychiatrists and specialists, and then putting in facilities for the treatment of this condition, which includes medication, but is not limited to medication. It may also include extensive counselling services as well. So thank you for your support, and hopefully it will deliver some positive benefits for our constituents. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Deehan, for bringing the motion, and Councillor McGrath for seconding it. It is for a lot of people, it means an awful lot to get that diagnosis. It gives them some form of a step to move forward. So it's very important. I'm sensing that there's a mood of agreement. So we're all in favour. Great, thank you. So that's that motion passed. So AOB, we have 4 items. Councillor Mahan have already got slipped in, and in order of the emails that arrived, I have Councillor Deehan, Councillor Hayes and Councillor Donnelly. So I'm going to go to Councillor Deehan first.
Thank you, Chair, for accepting my item of AOB. I would just like to request a Chair's reception, if possible, for Omagh Credit Union. Omagh Credit Union are preparing to make celebrations for the 60th anniversary of their formation. Oma Credit Union, in common with other credit unions, have done an enormous amount of good within our community, and I think it is fitting that we should celebrate the 60 years that they've been in operation in Oma, and I would be grateful if you would consider hosting a chair's reception, and I will submit the necessary paperwork if you agree, Chair. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor McElduff.
Yep, I would like to second Councillor Deehan's proposal. And just listening to a radio advert recently where they're open for business, Oma Credit Union, they've highlighted the huge amount of loans they have committed over the years, and speaking to their members, they're making great progress. Thank you, Chair. I'm happy to second that.
Okay, thank you. I'm not going to take a debate on this. I've had a proposer and a seconder, and I don't think there's any reason to debate this particular topic. I'm happy to go with the chair's was if everybody else is in agreement, and obviously submit the necessary paperwork. So next, I'm going to. Sorry, Seamus.
No, it was just I sent an email as well. You didn't call my name.
Sorry, Seamus. I apologise if you did indeed. I apologise, Seamus. Imagine that there, getting off to such a bad foot. That's me. So next I'm going to, Anthony, are you waiting to, yeah. Okay, I'm going to go now with Councillor Hayes. Oh, sorry, Nolene. Sorry.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you for accepting my item of any other business. Just like to say, as Diversity Ambassador, that June is Pride Month. So I'd like to make a proposal to light the council buildings in honour of Pride Month. I'd like to suggest a date of 22nd of June, which is the day of the Oma Pride Festival. This is going to be a street parade at 2 o'clock and the main street festival from 3 o'clock. It's going to include local girl Janet Devlin, DJs, Dolly Parton tribute, Gypsy Darling, a choir, a live circus performance, a family fun zone, and much, much more. So I would encourage everyone to come along. And also I would like to give a little plug to Fermanagh Pride, who are also having a series of events in Enniskillen on the 6th and 7th of September along a similar vein. So that's my proposal, Chair, to light up the council buildings to coincide with Oma Pride, 22nd of June. Thank you.
Okay, so Councillor Stephen Donnelly.
Yeah, Chair, not sure if I have to declare an interest, as Janet Devlin was actually a classmate of mine, but I'm happy to second that.
Okay, so you've heard the proposed and seconded. All in agreement? Agreed. Okay. Sorry, Councillor Buchanan.
Sorry, Chair. No, I wouldn't be agreed with that. Could I just record my dissent with that proposal,
Okay,
please?
thank you. Councillor Robinson is likewise. Anybody who's in the disagreement wants to put their hand up. Councillor Rainey and Councillor Warrington. Councillor Mahan. Okay, thank you. Next I go to Councillor Donnelly. Stephen Donnelly, that is.
Thank you, Chair, and I'm happy to take some guidance on this. I had a conversation with an owner of a relatively new business in the Dromore area just the weekend, and he was kind of explaining that things were going very well. The people at the time were really supporting kind of what he was doing, and there's a lot of good support there. But we were just having a conversation about how things can maybe done a little bit differently to help support kind of the growth of the business sector within Dromore. And it got me thinking about where we are in terms of plans and strategies, and thinking about how we can support the objectives of small and rural towns across the district. We've had a very valuable exercise over the last number of years in terms of the place shaping work that's been enormously beneficial for Oma and Enniskillen in terms of establishing a set of ideas to help support the towns in those objectives. But obviously that doesn't include sort of the rural towns from your Dromores, your Fitnas, your Carrickmores, your Lisnaskis. And I know that in other areas such as ABC, where they've done similar place shaping exercises for urban centres such as Banbridge, they've also looked at smaller areas such as Rathfriland. And I'm kind of curious as to whether we can look at that, but above and beyond that, also look at what is currently in the pipeline in terms of legacy plans as I understand it, there's previously been rural plans or village area plans that potentially may still be in the system with outstanding actions, and perhaps maybe an action that we can take away from this is just maybe a report just on sort of what those plans are, what those outstanding actions are, and where we can maybe go from sort of establishing future plans to help assist with the development of rural villages and areas across the district.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to let the Chief Executive come in here first.
No, it's just certainly, Chair, we can do that, and I suppose we have undertaken similar planning exercises, albeit it was in the context of the previous rural development programme because the plans were a requirement. So we can certainly do the report, but maybe if Councillor Donnelly was minded, I think it would be opportune for us to write to the Agriculture Minister, because as members here will know, we were very dependent on the rural development programme. There, as far as we are aware, there is no successor funding body or funding programme that in our case was worth in the region of £18 million. So it's a huge loss, and there is no alternate funding stream to support, for example, village renewal, business development in those smaller settlements, or business growth. And while we can certainly do the piece on the plan, if the funding isn't going to come down the tracks, it makes it much more challenging for those communities.
Thank you. I'm looking for somebody to second that. Councillor Roof. So everybody's in agreement. Thank you. And then I'm going to go to Councillor Green. Councillor Green, I'm going to say I'm in my family's originally from Longford, and I do have family connection with Longford hurling, so maybe that's why I was ignoring you.
Thank you, Chair, and much appreciated.
Mr. Green's like.
Sorry, Councillor, are you me seated? No. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
Thank you, Chair, and much appreciate you letting me in. No, I was just wanted to congratulate Fermanagh hurlers for winning the Larry Mayer Cup at the weekend. It's a national competition. It's a really high achievement for Fermanagh hurlers to do this. It was a really thrilling game against Longford, and Fermanagh just come out on the winning side of it. So I am proposing that there's a chair's reception held for the team and management. And again, like Councillor Deacon, I will get the paperwork in if needs be.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'd like to second Seamus' proposal. Yeah, it's very well, and it's not too often Fermanagh get a chance to play in Crow Park at any kind of level at the football or hurling. It was a great achievement. And when I'm talking, just like to mention the Fermanagh footballers are doing fairly well in the Tarleton Cup too. So long with that continue as well. But happy to second the proposal.
Okay, I'm not going to take any more on that. I'm happy enough that we go with the reception. So thank you. So now next is part 2, confidential business. So once we're ready, proposals, Anne-Marie Donnelly, and seconded by, I saw somebody. give us an indication when you're ready. You're ready, all right, brilliant.
Chair, thank you. While in committee, the council confirmed and signed the confidential minutes of the council meeting held on the 7th of May. The considered matter arising in relation to those. Confirmed the confidential minutes of the planning committee held on the 24th of April 2024. There were no matters arising. They received an update on a matter arising. The confidential report of the Environmental Services Committee meeting held on the 8th of May and formally adopted the minutes, and again received an update on a matter arising, and considered the confidential report of the Policy and Resources Committee meeting held on the 15th of May, and there were no matters arising.
Okay. Thank you, Josephine, and second, Paul. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. We managed to get through the first meeting with not too many stumbles. About 30 of you will have got leaflets in front of you. I was at a meeting today with the OMA volunteers, and they're celebrating 40 years and then of Volunteers Week and 25 years of the OMA Hub. The lady from the Smartens asked me to hand out the leaflets. I asked her for 40, but she seems to have only given me 30. And I'm not picking on any particular parties. I just went round one way and back the other. So if you didn't get one, apologies. Sorry. And on a final note, I'm sure you're all aware that our director Kim McLaughlin is heading off to Pastures Green, and I would like to thank Kim personally for all the help she's given me during my time in the council, and wish her all the best in her future, whatever that may take her. So thank you, Kim. All right. Okay. Thank you very much, everybody.